invite you in, crank up back too fast. Oh, oh, just like that. I see a dove in my future style. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. Oh, I just want it all. I just want it all. I'm gon' bounce. I'm gon' bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. Said you want it all. Bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I'll move to the floor.
we moving up, we on fire. Unstoppable, we never stop, we feel higher. Look at us, squad, we the best, far better than all of the rest. Unstoppable, we moving up, we on fire. Never give up, never give in, stronger we tough, thick in the skin. This is our game, so let it begin. This is our team, get ready to win, ready to rumble, ready to play, ready to tumble. We ain't afraid, enemies hide, enemies pray. Come on the squad, I just wanna wait.
Fortnite fam, day 2 of the grand finals. 6 games today. Players have had the night before to study, to make adjustments, to rethink their plans, and come in stronger than ever, because 6 spots are going to the global championship, and all to play for. Oh, that's right, there's also prize money and an Axe of Champions. I hope you're ready. It's FNCS time. The only people more excited about the grand finals is Kelly Link and Vivid. Friends, day number 2, 6 games, Axe of Champions, 6 spots, prize money. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm sure not as nervous as our players, but my goodness, was day 1 such an exciting day for Fortnite. Not just for you, but of course NA. It was absolutely incredible in the way that things ended off with Peterbot and Pollo on top. My goodness, Vivid. But we've already got 6 teams from North America made their way to the Global Championships, and we're going to find 6 more today.
I mean, listen, we have constantly talked about it. Every single time you guys have seen our faces up here, it feels like this Fortnite season is just flying by. I mean, Major 2 has been no different. We are already on day number 2 of Grand Finals, just a couple of hours away from not only crowning champions, but for securing those Global Championships qualification spots. A lot to play for and just 6 games left to do it.
Oh man, let's go ahead and start off easy here. Let's bring up that leaderboard. Let's remind ourselves kind of how things ended. To start, I'd like to go ahead and say, hey, that's right, NA, we got top 5 in NA. No EU in the top 5 currently. I'm looking at you, Veno. I'm looking at you, Moneymaker and Fanyan. But speaking of both of these EU duos, you know, we kind of have seen some crazy situations out of Moneymaker and Fanyan, specifically looking to possibly contest some other duos. Vivid, do you maybe want to talk us through some of that action?
Yeah, so Moneymaker and Fanyan, I mean, obviously you can see they're doing well on the leaderboard, but they came into it yesterday in game number 1, kind of expected to land at this island split to the east of Sunken, and they were uncontested game 1, and out of that, they got 3rd place with 4 eliminations. But for whatever reason, they just weren't happy with that. As you can see, just to the north end, by the way, Kentucky and Jocelyn Amazon kind of had this contest going on. But Moneymaker and Fanyan, like I said, they weren't happy with it. So in the next 5 games, they moved. A bulk of those games, they went to the 0-point center of the map split where they ended up being contested. And then one of the other games, they went up to Chopped Shop up there in the northwest side of the map. So they pretty much left their uncontested split to the south side and opted to be contested. It's kind of working out for them because they're still doing well on the leaderboard, but it's also working out well for Josh Nyamzo and Kentucky because now both of those duos have kind of ended up with uncontested drop spots. So I want us to keep a close eye on how this actually pans out through the day and if we can kind of expect this to kind of remain how it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because they definitely started off strong, but the last 2 games were definitely a little rough for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they do change up their strategy. But for a team that also had some success yesterday, you already alluded to it a little bit, Zeke, but I'm going to let Vivid take it away because Veno and Agers had quite a day yesterday.
I mean, listen, we're kind of talking about off-spawn situations. I expected Veno and Aegis to come into this weekend with a little something up their sleeve. I did not expect them to go latte at all because they were going to be triple contested over here. But this triple contest, it happened all 6 games. There was no secrets being kept from Veno and Aegis outside of the fact that they are just darn good. Because I feel like anybody that watched those 6 games yesterday would probably agree with me in saying that Veno and Aegis, I feel like, won that off-spawn fight, whether they were fighting or not. But the tough part about it is that when you're triple contested, you kind of leave the POI sometimes with not so great loot. I mean, their weapons and their utility is pretty good, but their mats were always just so low. So they were actually forced into a situation where they had to just take mid-game fight after mid-game fight after mid-game fight. That being said, I mean, it just worked out so well for them. We know they were our elimination leaders after just those 6 games, and the numbers do the talking for themselves. Because as you can see, this is a breakdown of all of our teams, or at least towards the top. of how many eliminations they were able to pick up between zones 0 and 7. So a bulk of Aegis and Veno, bulk of their action was just coming from those early to mid-game fights, 22 total eliminations from them.
And we've seen in the past, especially when Veno first came over to North America and teamed up with Clix, that he does really favor these early and mid-game fights. But I feel like between Clix and even Curve, that he hasn't really found a duo mate that would be able to kind of follow along with him and keep up the pace of Veno, who is so fast, so aggressive. But I don't think that's the case with Agers. Agers is the perfect teammate for Veno. Being able to just stay with him and keep that aggression going is definitely a key to the success that we saw from them yesterday.
I'm curious to see. Did we change something? Are we going to keep the triple contested situation? For now, though, as we continue to talk about day number 2, why don't we go say what's up to your casters, MDF and Jacob?
Honestly, you're talking about day 2, Zeke, and honestly, one thing that always sticks in my head, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat them. And for Queasy, Victor V, Okus, and Zana, they may have had some mistakes, but they also had moments where they shine like no other, getting victory royales on the day yesterday.
Yeah, it's a story that is so different from one to the other. Queasy and Victor V have very high expectations set on their shoulders. You saw their preparation has got them sort of out of the early game, but it's that mid game, the lurks that you saw in the dynamic troubles in their area. So I'm curious to see how they're going to adapt. And then, Jacob, we have this team, right? Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Yeah, and honestly, both of these teams really have shown, because they have shared at one point or another a spot inside of global championship qualifying territory. They fell down a little bit, 14th and 15th place on the respective leaderboard, but it goes to show that one game can truly mean the difference, Zeke.
It can, Jacob. That's why you have to fight it out until the final game of Fortnite. Fortnite's going to do what Fortnite's going to do. But why don't we go ahead and bring up, once again, the leaderboard, right? So we got the talk of EU out the way. Let's look at our top 5 and see who could possibly race to number 1. We'll start at the bottom, Higgs and Curve. I mean, look, we started very strong yesterday, right? A victory royale, 12 eliminations, and we had some consistency and maybe a few one-off games that didn't quite go their way. But Kelly, coming into today, I'm kind of curious what they might have adapted and, you know, how they might have changed their plans to tackle these upcoming 6 games.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the first half went better in their favor, unlike the second half of the day. But I will say in game number 1, the game that they won, that they kind of forego these early rotations that I saw a lot of other teams kind of prioritizing. And instead, they stayed in Storm. They kind of left Lifty Lodge and then even ended up going back to it. And it wasn't until zone 5 or 6 that they actually ended up going back into zone. And they kind of waited a little bit until zone 11 to steal high ground. And then just honestly, it was a clean, easy win and a bunch of eliminations. Getting that VR and the 12 elims has allowed them to kind of hold themselves up in this 5th place spot.
Higgs and Kerr, man, they opened strong yesterday. Games 1 through 3, they were towards the top of the leaderboard. I mean, yeah, they're still in top 5, but struggling with that consistency a little bit. But a team that has not been struggling to be consistent. Acorn and Bulge just a spot above them on the leaderboard in 4th place here. And I'm not going to lie, how everything kind of happened yesterday, I, as it currently stands, kind of favor Acorn and Bulge to kind of take this home. I feel like they're going to win this FNCS, and it's just on the back foot of how consistently that they have played. Their average placement right now over the first 6 games was 7.0. There is not another team in the lobby with a better average placement than 10, and these guys are on 7. So the consistency is there for Acorn and Bolts. I mean, we constantly talk about it. Acorn, best IGL in the world, paired up with Bolts, so mechanical. That being said, Callie, I know we were kind of talking about it yesterday. The solo clutch points are also kind of keeping these guys alive.
Yeah, it's wild to see that they have a 7th place average place, but they haven't placed above 5th. And I think a lot of that is due to what you just indicated, that they are consistently a solo when it comes to the final moments of the game. And you can see that here in the solo clutch points. And obviously, we kind of built up Acorn's solo play in the heats, but that is a one and done. You win and you move on. Here, we need both of them to stay alive a few moments. There was even a few moments in the game in the day yesterday where we thought they were separated. They weren't even in the same box together. So I don't know necessarily if it's just a little bit of a hitch in their synchronicity or if there's something else going on, but we know that this duo has been together for quite a long time now, and I know that they have that synergy. So maybe just a moment to kind of look back on maybe where they're taking a few missteps and to recover. But again, I'm saying recover. They're in 4th place, but I would love to see them get into a top 3.
Absolutely right. I think we all want to see that. We got to keep the ball rolling, though, the conversation going. We got to talk about Muzz and Rise. No big deal. Only a few points behind Peterbot and Pollo. Very strong showing from the duo yesterday. Even a victory royale. I guess I posed the same question. Now that we've had the evening to kind of moderate, to look over our gameplay, do we feel like they may have made some changes? Do we even feel like they need to? I mean, with such a strong showing, maybe they just stay the course?
Listen, they got a first, a second, and a third yesterday. I don't know necessarily if they're going to have to make any changes. And I got to rewatch some of their games this morning. And honestly, right off the bat, they have so much success. Muzz lands on this crazy high plateau where there's a few chests, and he's able to grab some easy tags on some players, especially depending on how the bus path goes. He lands so much earlier than anyone else. And then they get the mythic AR from the boss that's nearby. And then they go into this mid-map. They're relatively in the middle of the map. So they have these early rotations, and then they can get the surge tower that's in the middle of the map, and it's on top of that plateau that Muzz already landed on. So they have so much vision around the map. They have so much in the early and mid game that sets themselves up for success, that they don't really need these crazy big pop-off games in the end, because they've just done so well in the early and mid.
Well, listen, 34 points separates first and fifth place. 6 points separates first and third, and just a single point separates Peterbot and Pollo and Ritual and Cold. I mean, listen, Ritual and Cold, no surprise here. And we kind of talked about it towards the end of yesterday. If you kind of follow socials, Kinj always posts out his stats from the days, and Cold was all over it, man. He was the player with the most damage dealt. He had the best individual damage ratio. That being said, it wasn't actually the individual prowess that was so impressive for me yesterday. It was actually their average placement if you go ahead and disclude game number 4, because unfortunately they got 46th place, 0 eliminations. They went down just 5 minutes into the game. If you go ahead and actually disclude that game and kind of take their average placement without that one, it's a 4.2. If these guys survive the early game and just make it to the end game, how do you have an average placement of 4.2 there? It is absolutely incredible. They're playing so consistent right now, and I'm not entirely sure what happened in that game number 4, but they can kind of prevent that from happening and have 6 games today where they're constantly in the end game. I mean, listen, only 1 point behind, these guys could win.
And on top of the consistency, they're also able to grab just a ton of eliminations every time they make it to the end game. And when I was rewatching some of their games, I thought, maybe they're doing these crazy aggro plays like what Veno and Agers do. They just run in the mid game, jump in people's boxes and eliminate them. But no, they kind of wait until the end game, and they'll kind of early rotate, box themselves up, and then just create a little window. And they're so in sync and in tune, and they're both so good that they're able to get an elimination onto players rotating in front of them in like a split second. And they don't even they are so efficient in their eliminations that they don't need to go for the loot. There was a game yesterday where they got 3 eliminations back to back to back and didn't go for any of their mats, any of their ammo, anything, because they barely wasted any of it. Cold and Ritual are just so efficient in the end game that they don't really need to use anything.
Crazy stuff. Well, you guys did it. You said a duo's name, it activated my neurons, and now we must talk about them. Peterbot Pollo. Kelly, of course, it would be this way, right? We go in, we're like, Peterbot Pollo. We even talked about it at the top of the show yesterday. Sometimes they have these big explosive games, and sometimes they're not doing that hot. Of course, they win game 6. They come in today as that number 1 team. Of course, it's only a point, but that's still not that's a pretty scary place to be.
I'm a broken record at this point. I always say how they are, historically a day 2 team, and that is still even the case for now. That was the case if you look at Summit Land and you split the games in half. They just do better in the second half of a tournament, and they're already in first place. And I have to think a part of that is due to this kind of early rotates they would do in the end game, even around Zone 7 or Zone 8. They would build these little towers and just kind of observe where everyone else is going. They would even rotate into Storm to build up a tower to kind of block everyone else off if there was this natural height. They do such a good job preparing for the end game that they're able to control height much earlier than any other team is able to do.
You can see their time on height yesterday. Over the course of the 6 games, it was almost 9 minutes total. But that being said, I feel like we have to mention Peterbot and Pollo, it was very, very slow for them in games 1 through 3. And matter of fact, most of this time, 7 minutes and 20 seconds of it, out of the total of almost 9 minutes there, actually just came on the back foot of games 4, 5, and 6. So a majority of that was just in the later half of the day yesterday. In fact, kind of going into game number 4 yesterday, they were on 160 points, and now they're on 333, which means that in just those last 2 games, they got more than half of their points than they are currently sitting on right now. So the momentum is on Peterbot and Pollo's side right now. Can they kind of bring it into day number 2 and keep the ball rolling?
Oh, man, it is going to be an awesome day of Fortnite, right? 6 games. After that, we've got 6 spots going to the Global Championship. We're fighting for prize money. We're fighting for the Axe of Champions. It is going to be another movie. It's almost that time. Everyone find your seats on the battle bus. Casters, over to you.
Thank you, Zeke. And yeah, as a community, Jacob, we're lucky we get to come into day 2 with 4 teams neck and neck, and then so many others in the race right now. What do you think is going to happen here?
Now, first off, lucky is an understatement. We got a front row seat. I think the last time we had a tournament this close, it ended just as close. I hope it's one placement. I hope it's one elim. I hope first and second place are battling it out come game 12, and the winner of that game wins it all.
Yeah, definitely. You know, NA has given us quite the spectacular show year after year, season after season. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. As we're gearing up here, though, we get to jump in for game number 7.
This is a big day for everybody involved. We crown a Major 2 champion. If it's not for the prize money, maybe the Axe of Champions or the bragging rights to be the best in the world. We also have 6 global championship spots up for grabs. Some teams already have them secured, so we could have a roll down situation. And Monster, with these 6 games, one last day to really put your name on the map and keep your journey going, because you don't want to have to go through that last chance global qualifier.
Yeah, definitely. Things get much more difficult later on in the weeks, but take a look at this. Veno, Agers, Chance, and Madden sticking to their drops as we sort of expected them to be contested, not to fully have the drop to themselves. However, it's quite the nice surprise, I'm sure, even for them to only have a single team here directly contesting them.
Yeah, they're not the only ones changing things up on this side of the map. I saw on the feed Aoxy Jojo Fishy taking down Void and Magma. That's another team that's just towards their west, as Toldzair and Ishu. This is a fight yesterday. We saw them kind of go back and forth, each team winning their respective off spawns, maybe even potentially trying to stay alive as a solo. And sometimes all you need is that one day difference, a time to kind of recollect, figure out what went wrong and fix it, but also figure out what went right and how to replicate it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is their get back. They lost, I want to say, about 4 out of the 6 drops yesterday, maybe even 5, honestly. I know the first game went their way, but besides that, it was a pretty tough showing. F9 Moneymaker keeping things interesting for us here as they continue to sort of float around the drop. Today, they're pulling out a whole new bag of tricks. They have a completely new team and a new POI insight.
Yeah, I feel like they realize sometimes on this region, it is those eliminations that make the difference and start that momentum building, get confidence through the roof. So for Moneymaker and F9, it seems like they're pinpointing contested fights off the drop. And I'm not sure if they kind of plan for where they're actually hiding, but teams usually do go down the Monster. They usually do farm up the metal here, the brick down below. You almost get maximum material down there. So the chances are high that teams are going to rotate in that direction. Obviously, the porta potty's there to get even more loot towards the backside of the map.
That's right. And Sharkman and Yuz are, of course, a team with some fair amount of points earned from yesterday. Their overall performance ending them in 23rd. So very much in the race right now for a consistency position. Meanwhile, Quick and Avari have the high ground here. They're looking down, also trying to see if they can find an opportunity. Everyone is oh so patient down here. So Moneymaker and F9 might have did their homework, but were they spotted potentially landing down? Hence everyone's cautiousness at the moment. How much time can you wait here, though, right? Even with max shield, you don't really have a lot of builds. So the clock is ticking here.
Uh-oh. Like I said, they're going for that brick, the porta potty, Moneymaker and F9. You're asking how long they can be patient for. Just a couple of seconds longer. They do have a team crossing their path, but they're just trying to go ahead and loot that boat. But you also have Quick and Avari still up above eyeing this altercation. So the initial plan for Moneymaker and F9 is let the fight break out. Listen to the noise, look at the feed, count the knocks, and then strike. And now they might be the ones trying to push what little advantage they might have.
So interesting as they get closer, and I'm curious if they realize there's a team above them. They have to know, because Sharkman and Yuz are building for good reason. Now, Vari and Quick are obviously not going to over-peak, so although F9 and Moneymaker are exposed here, they're not actually in danger just yet from the high ground team. In the end, it does seem like they ultimately decide to leave.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. They know two teams are here. When you see one disengaging out and you don't know where the other one is, a little bit too risky. As it does look like Paper and Zen are looking to go ahead and contest the Battle Woods against Ritual and Cold. This could be a blessing for Ritual and Cold. They get that first knock onto Zen, which is going to help them for Surge. I'm not sure how much, though. You can see 53 shield left on the Ritual. You got to imagine he took some sort of a shot. But while Paper and Zen contest Ritual and Cold, you can see Aviv and Veer at least trying to get a little bit of damage. It might be 20, it might be 30, but at least it's something to start the journey for Aviv and Veer.
Yeah, a couple tags there to put them ahead. Cold Ritual play a lot more defensively now as they tuck themselves inside the base, just in case that team comes down. Not to be, of course, pinched here. Goes the Shockwave to give them that extra stamina. Now it's time to go ahead and make the push here. Breaking that wall right there allows them to see straight through it, and the elimination was quick and easy for them. They had to secure their first set of points and some damage to go with it.
Yeah, basically 2 eliminations. Even though Ritual did get tagged up, it's still overall a net positive, especially since they haven't even left their POI yet. There's a lot of time for them to continue on with their game plan, just like Josh and Yamzo. They only get that little building just outside of Sanctuary, so they have to be quick to loot up elsewhere. And that's why we're seeing in majority of the games, even yesterday, they're so quick to get out of that actual drop and rotate towards the center of the map. This time around, it does look like they're venturing on over towards Sinister Strip, and you're already seeing how crowded it actually is. All of our OG being the primary ones to try to put down pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Tons of teams situated in the vicinity. You have Okus and Zonda. Peterbot and Boyo has a surge base there as well. So this is quite the dangerous rotate. Everyone's going to base down, but for a second, we get to jump in with Mirops, QK, Aminish, and Javi here. Shots and exchanges happening between the two teams in the fight. Then, of course, you have this team based up outside of this engagement here. They're popping tags in as well.
Literally 4 teams. Contract, Darzy, 20, Chimp towards the outside, Marab's QK here, Javi and Aminish. And typically throughout the day yesterday, it was Clicks and Rapid trying to put pressure on a Maraps and QK in this exact same location, maybe a little bit more towards the east on that coastline. But it's interesting to see them not even kind of move over in this direction. So Clicks and Rapid also having a change of game plan here, at least early on in game 1, as we return back to familiar territory on the whole southern western part of the map. F9 and Moneymaker, you can see they kind of overstayed their welcome in the zone. My only question here, Monster, is probably the same one we had early on. Does anybody even know they're lurking around?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. You know, honestly, early on, I felt like there might have been some early indication, maybe some visual pickup. Hey, there's another team. There's extra gliders here. What are we going to do about it? Hence why everyone's taken their sweet, sweet time. But clearly, Quick and Avari had to have gotten into the mix here as they came down for the Mending Machine. So the fight with Yuz and Sharkman is already breaking out. Even looking at the map, F9 and Moneymaker doubling back, right? They're not exactly sure. And I think in their head, they must be doing the math. They need the damage. They actually probably absolutely need to get active here. The likelihood of them finding an easier battle later on, you know, further into the safe zone is probably not there, since the zone sort of landed on top of them in this general area.
Man, I can kind of see rightfully so. I feel like they just invested so much time and energy onto this side. They feel like it's a must. And it was immediately as they started shooting, Avari, Quick, Yuz, Sharkman playing for a little bit of piece control. That's when I was looking at it, but you said it just in time that they are doubling back. And now they're really kind of just putting it on the line here. They're not necessarily rotating out, but they're putting themselves in a position to, no matter who wins this actual fight, they're going to have to rotate into Moneymaker and F9.
Yeah, it's going to end up playing out. Both sides, of course, already digging into their heels. Sharkman gets control of the Mending Machine here. Remember, this will allow them to get those med kits as well, but these are some important tags coming from the low ground team with Quick and Avari. F9 and Moneymaker are like, all right, we came back. They're still duking it out. Let's get out of here. They end up waiting just outside the storm line here. Regardless of who wins this one, they are surely going to be in for a treat.
Yeah, for a situation like this, both of these teams need some sort of mathematician by their side just to count up the numbers, how much damage they're taking, and find a way to do the quick maths, because honestly, this is looking like almost a no-win scenario with how many shots they're actually trading off, how many materials they're actually using, how much gold they're actually spending. So the longer and longer this one goes, it's not only that third-party team, because you see in the minimap, Moneymaker F9 still lurking around, but it's everything that you're using in this situation, all the resources that it's costing you, to where even if you do get both of the eliminations, not just one, it's still not going to put you in a good spot. It's almost, like I said, a no-win scenario forming right before our very eyes.
Yeah, I think Moneymaker F9 are actually leaving out so that they can heal without giving away any audio sound effects or something like that, because there has to be a reason they're doubling back and forth as they try to find a clean entry in to lurk up on the team. Now they're coming in from the top down. Avari and Quick, though, look at this, down to their last med kit here, forced to start breaking their way through the builds. This is going to expose them to the outside. F9 and Moneymaker now have to see if they can actually download what's happening here. This extra bit of information is going to be super important for them. Otherwise, they'll be left holding the bag. Look, they actually don't even realize that Quick and Avari have now left the drop.
And they're watching the whole other side, instead of the same side that they kind of rotated on out. But you can see they found some loot on the outskirts of where they're actually at. They're able to get a couple extra med kits, minis, bigs. Not sure what the mobility is looking like overall, but they're at least in a spot where they do have the luxury to stay a little bit longer. On over towards Calamari Canyon, where we jump in very quickly to see Noxy go down. And it was no Nox. We know him and Dash have been eliminated out of this game.
Big eliminations for King and Kreese. That puts them at 3 now. That's a plus 12 points. If you start with just that, they're inside the top 10 now, jumping up to where Josh and Yamzo would have started the game here. For Acorn, for Bolts, they're off to such a hot start at day one. The cushion is growing. 318 points separate them from the rest, but I'm looking at that damage meter, looking like it's a bit light here. So options are going to be Oliver OG, but the problem is you have Yamzo in the distance, and remember, Peterbot and Boyo have that tower too, so a lot of potential third parties for Acorn and Bolts can be happening here.
You see what I see, right? But we're both looking at the same thing. And no, I'm not talking about Curve. He is great. We know what it is. Production even sees what I'm seeing. It's the return. The man, the myth, the legend. Higgs has been shoved away. It's the return of Batman Booga. And this is something big right here, because he has come so close under the name Batman Booga so many times, from NA West to Central. He has yet to capture that FNCS championship, and I feel like right now he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Day 2, a new day for them, and why not bring a familiar name back to the mix?
Honestly, I would have loved to see him even go with Batman Higgs. Let's just merge the two, take the branding all the way, but Batman Booga, what a fun username. Definitely inspired by, obviously, the GOAT himself. So really cool to see Higgs having some fun here. And I think he's just trying to put all the good omens together, right? Put out all the good lucky charms that he can think of here, because he is very close to striking NAC championship title here today.
Yeah, one point or another, sharing that first place spot. Along with Muzz and Rise here, I talked about it yesterday, coming together very, very late, especially compared to some of the other teams that they're around on the leaderboard. Had a not good day 1. They needed to clutch up big in day 2. They made it happen. They go through heats. It's a cakewalk for them. And then here in finals, they're playing so phenomenally well. I think Rise has flown so under the radar, you know, over the last couple of years, you know, maybe even questioning his dedication, his passion. I feel like, and I've always said it, with the right teammate, Rise will rise back on up, and I think Muzz is that right teammate.
Yeah, listen, Muzz has had this very consistent, successful career on NA. I feel like there's been moments where, again, he has excelled as an individual, and just pairing up along Rise, who's also had a very stable career. These are two super veterans paired up with one another, and if nothing else, I bet they just complement each other very well. Two very level-headed players, and their performance here is surely showing. in a world of so much new, crazy talent as well, right? Like the Curves, like the Batman Boogas that are, of course, rising up, especially in the last year. But look at this. Being below, 120 below. We'll have to catch up with what's happening over there. First, though, we touch base with Buzz and Rise. We find Boji rotating through the storm, getting chased down by Cynic. So a nice free pickup for them. That's a 4-point swing going their way.
Yeah, that's definitely good because coming into today, it was 6 points difference between them and first place. Obviously, you got to figure out how many eliminations Ritual, Cold, Peterbot, and Poyo have gotten throughout all this, but they're definitely climbing up as the game continues to progress. Batman Booga's going to go down. Curve going against Cold and Ritter in game one along with Curve. They had the most distance traveled over the entire tournament so far, and Cold and Ritual immediately shut it down.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say it's just a really tough fight, right? Like, who wants to fight Cold when they're not below the surge, right? Like, Cold just gets to wait there, get the pre-fire off, and you saw him do it. While that was happening, by the way, F9 did find Sharkman with an elimination, so something has finally concluded for Moneymaker and F9. You can see them. Peterbot get first dibs on the rotate here. Using a shockwave, gets off that high ground. This is working out pretty perfectly for them right now.
Yeah, especially compared to some of the games we were seeing yesterday. They're 520 above, but Venno has gone down to Veer. Ager's literally on a sliver of HP, and it's active surge. He only has a couple of seconds. He can't take a single tick. Veer is buying time right now, and Ager's and Venno have gone down. So as it stands, Monster, 5th place, 6th place have both been eliminated.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in, but if you're everyone else who's, of course, racing for consistency, you're happy to see these spots start to loosen up, because what you don't want is for them to hold the grips on the leaderboard, right, and continue to gap away. This really does open up opportunity for other players. Meanwhile, Clicks and Rapid getting active here in the mid-game, finding themselves a nice little elimination. Well, a lot of notable names I'm still seeing alive here. Yamzo, Josh, King, Craze, Bolts, Acorn, a lot of teams situated pretty strongly now.
Yeah, I just got to see this update here for Acorn and Bolts, 263 above. You know, it wasn't too long ago in the same game, we saw them kind of below the damage threshold. But Acorn always peeking for those opportunities. And I think it was Kelly that said it throughout the day yesterday. Even though they're 4th place on the leaderboard, they were just unable to really make a lot of these games count as a duo. They really made them count as a solo, but we know what the difference in numbers makes, especially if you're a team like this that knows how to play for that high ground. You just can't do it alone most times.
Yeah, look at this. Somehow, Moneymaker and F9 are 120 above when they only got that singular elimination that we saw in the feed there. Just shows you the importance of also not taking damage in your journey. Meanwhile, Cold and Ritual, though, just doing big things here. It's really funny that in the highlights, you know, when Kelly did the breakdown for this team, she mentioned that they get these eliminations. They do not greed for the resources, though, but they also don't desperately find themselves needing it every single time. Even here and now, they are max material coming into this big moving zone.
Yeah, and I think it's something that Ritual just deserves a lot of credit on, you know, just being able to kind of go through trios, now back to duos, and be the IGO, and somebody they can kind of lean hard on, especially in these tough situations where you don't necessarily know at all times where you're going to get your surge, where they did go down, I think Vivid said 46th place to start the game, and they're still looking as strong as ever. See Victor V and Queasy not straying away from their strategy. They tried it yesterday. They did it in heats, going for high ground majority of the time, but they're 88 below the damage threshold. There's a lot of opportunity up here for them to go ahead and strike down on anybody shockwaving on, but they have to be quick because it's active surge.
Yeah, this is super important for them right now. I also didn't see many heals, so they've already healed through the majority of the last couple of surge ticks, and now they're forced to jump on a team, and it's Peterbot and Boyo who are on the other side. Peterbot just hits a monster shot, so does Boyo, and they take down Victor V and Queasy on the line where placement points were being issued out. I almost wish they would have gotten active a little bit sooner, especially when you saw 7 players standing between you and the surge turning off. It's just a long ways, but look at this. This is looking like a win situation for Peterbot and Boyo. The only team that has arguably gone for height every game that they possibly could has now lost that resistance, or better yet, beat them on the high ground here.
Yeah, that high ground counter is definitely going to reach 10 minutes after this game, but Clicks and Rapid falling under the radar so far in this game. I think that's a blessing for them, not taking too much focus from everybody. We saw Rapid's first elimination kind of getting them going. Now we're getting into the placement points, top 22. It's not much as of now, but we know teams will start to drop like flies. Those placement points will start to fly in as they rotate toward the front side of the zone. They're waiting for it to open up on the right side, which gives them a little less pressure to deal with.
Names I'm seeing here, Golden and Ozone on the backside of zone. Ritual, Cold here, 5 eliminations now, working the mid-ground lane. They're getting targeted, though, by a few different teams here. They will have to sort of soldier their way through all these old builds. Peterbot Boyos still maintaining control of the high ground. I'm seeing glimpses of Shadow and Virgo as well, still standing here, trying to make a comeback for themselves, but take a look at this. Cole dropping all of his material here for Ritual. Although he's going to try to stick this pickup, it's going to cost him a bit.
They got to run.
He makes it. Ooh, barely, but they're in.
Beeline it there, just 10 HP for Cold, but surviving is surviving. Saw Muzz and Rise in the backside of zone, so it doesn't look like it's smooth sailing for Peterbot and Poyo just yet. Fanayan's gonna go down. Moneymaker still finds an Elim. He gets the Elim onto Acorn though, separating him and Bolts once again. But Moneymaker, it's your chance to make your name true, make that money, but he goes down. Peterbot and Poyo are gonna fall from grace as well, and it's Shadow and Virgo the ones that take it all.
Yeah, it looks like Muzz and Rise might have attempted it as well. You saw them falling there too. So a scrappy battle up top. Peterbot Boyo end up playing the price. Boyo now left by himself, but in the end, Shadow and Virgo will remain victorious with the high ground. Meanwhile, Cold still trying to pull off a solo clutch here for himself now. He's at 10 points earned this game already. Meanwhile, Virgo and Shadow holding things down on the high ground. Oliver OG, Belly Boss think they're gonna come up and contest the best here, but nope, it's Boyo who still wants to have a piece of this fight.
I saw him take so much damage. I'm like, what duo is next to go to the high ground? And it's Poyo by himself. And that's something that he loves to do. Go for the high ground as a solo and let everybody else down below deal with that mess. But as of now, it's Shadow and Virgo that are going to stand tall. Clicks and Rapid get a second elimination in this game and timed perfectly because they desperately needed those materials to continue looking strong here.
It's a very big game right now for Clicks and Rapid, almost a top 10, but Boyo still has to be taken out here. He's working his way through the low ground now, jumping down, just trying to stay out of the line of sight of the opponents. Doesn't even have time to pop his heals. If he could, he would, but he's more desperately trying to avoid the storm here.
Just weaving in and out of these builds.
Oh my
Whatever
gosh.
we watch, it's like the game is moving in slow motion for him, and now Poyo clicks one-on-one. Poyo goes down. That's Ozone who steals away that elimination. Now everybody is sending it up towards height. Shadow is gone. Virgo is down to a sliver of HP. Doesn't even make it back in. And out of nowhere, it's Dolzir and Ishu that are stealing away the momentum here.
And don't forget, Dozier and Ishu had a very, very tough day one, losing their off spawn. Finally, though, when they get let loose, they are running things up, but so are Iamzo in the low ground. But take a look at this. Just a little update. 8 eliminations for Josh and Iamzo here as they are cooking things up down low, and now they've actually secured just enough material to do something big here.
They were literally one placement outside of the Globo's bubble. You gotta imagine they're inside of it now and looking to head even further up that leaderboard. Our final 2v2. Dozier's gonna get shut down first. Iamzo and Josh win game number 1. 11 eliminations to start the day off hot.
A huge, huge moment for them right there to be battling from the low ground to turn things around and then secure the win when it matters most. And honestly, with how fired up they look there, Zeke, that was the way you execute.
MDF, I am shocked after that game result. I feel like there was so many different ways that game could have ended. For a while, I was like, oh, Peterbot Boyo, they're up on the high ground. But then Shadow Virgo push it, and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. What's going on? And then Dozer and Ishu go, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Josh and Iamzo from the low ground. 11 elimination victory royale on the hardest day of the competition to kick off game number 7. Kelly, oh my gosh, momentum is going brr.
Listen, I think we need to give a big thank you to Reet and Cooper for winning the Wonky Land off spawn first to 10, because I think that might be a key to the success of Josh and Iamzo right now. We've seen them have major success at Wonky Land, but what they're doing right now in the early and mid game, and Vivid, you broke it down perfectly, and then being able to convert that into these perfect end games, absolutely incredible. And I do have to feel like just because of how vertical that height was, there were so many layers and not too many people actually on that low ground except for Iamzo and Josh. So when these players had to kind of drop down, when they got a little scared, they were able to just clean it up so easily because they were the only ones there, and they were able to just pick up so much loot because of that.
You know, we were kind of watching the game. Obviously me, Zeke, and Kelly, and we were kind of talking about it, whatever, and Zeke was like, man, it kind of seems like everybody's like sleeping, you know what I mean? Everybody needs to like wake up a little bit here. I can tell you right now, Josh looks like he is very clearly awake because he was moving just absolutely phenomenally in that end game. But I also want to go ahead and mention, you gotta imagine, we constantly talk about the differences between day one and day two when it comes down to these types of competitions. Josh and Iamzo came into this weekend kind of expecting to go Wonky Land, and then of course they kind of like lost the rights to actually land there. And then they kind of came into it and they were like, oh, we're going to be contested by, you know, Seek and Taki over here at this split to the left of Clicks and Rapid, but now they're going to be uncontested. So now that they're kind of coming into day number two, you got to imagine last night they probably prepared around the fact that they are now uncon, and immediately that preparation, I would imagine, is starting to pay off with a game one victory royale.
Crazy stuff. I feel like I gotta go watch Faxity's reaction to that result. Man, a massive shock and a massive W for them. How does that impact the leaderboard? We'll find out after this short break. We'll see in just a moment. Man, oh man. Game number 1 was as chaotic as I had hoped it to be. And if you missed it, Josh and Yamzo got themselves an 11 elimination victory royale in the first game of the day. We do have 5 more games to go. Nobody freak out. But as we turn attention to the leaderboard, this is a massive W for them. They have jumped up so many places, and now they find themselves in the top 5. That, Kelly, is why we say one game can really change everything.
I love to see it. Out of all of the teams that we had play in Major 1, there's only a handful that stuck together, and Josh and Yamzo is one of the only ones that didn't get a global championship qualification and still remain together. And you can see why that's so important, the synergy, the understanding. But I'm going to be a little bit honest. I like to write notes while I'm watching these games, and around Zone 2 I wrote Yamzo with great loot. And then that's the rest that I have. We weren't really able to watch them until the final moments because so much was going on in those end games. And obviously, I know a lot of people were looking to Peterbot and Poyo, who were able to take high ground really early. And then, of course, it came down to that solo from Polo. We thought we were going to maybe see another Summit Land performance, but it did go a little bit less like that. However, Vivid, you called it out during the break that Peterbot and Ritual are just 1 point away from each other still after that last game.
Yeah, incredible that we're kind of remaining very, very close towards the top of the leaderboard. And, you know, kind of taking a look at that leaderboard when we were looking at it. Actually, I'll bring that up in just a moment as we do see Peterbot play. It looked like this is actually going to be a good game for them because they had the high ground. As you can see here, Peterbot just quickly caught off guard. And I won't lie, high ground got a little chaotic this game. I mean, we saw obviously Peter and Polio up there. Queasy and Victor V were kind of fighting them for it at one point. Shadow and Virgo went for it at one point. We saw Oliver OG sending it up there as well. So high ground was a little bit crazy. But talking about this leaderboard right now, obviously we came into the day, and I just want to talk about the top 5 kind of coming into the day and how they placed in game number 7 here, because it has opened up the door a lot. So Pete and Polio, that kind of came in today. They were first place. They got 9th that game. Ritual and Cold, they got 15th that game. Muzz, 16th. Acorn and Bolts, 17th. And then Higgs and Curve, they got 36. So all of our teams that came into today in the top 5 on the leaderboard barely broke into the top 10 at all. I mean, Pete and Polio were the only ones who actually do that, and it was just on the back foot of Polio's solo clutch. And so the door has been open for all of our other teams to kind of catch up. And, you know, we take a look at it here for Ritual and Cold. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Cold was gonna pick up 10 eliminations. That's what I was kind of calling for. You blink and you might have missed it. They just ended up being so shambles on the backside of the zone because Ritual was actually forced to go ahead for a res onto Cold at one point.
I mean, when you see Cold practically get a 1v2 onto Higgs and Curve, I can totally understand why you thought they were going to be walking away with a 10 elimination game there. But unfortunately, there's just only so much you can predict, especially with Ritual and Cold, who kind of like to box up a little bit and wait for everyone to rotate in front of them to get those eliminations. Eventually, if you're not kind of super focused, lasered in on all the players rotating in front of you, you're not going to pay attention behind you. And if you just get caught out by a really big team, they're just going to get those eliminations quickly. But it's Cold and Ritual. If anyone's going to be able to bounce back, and I don't know how much bouncing back they're going to do because of how high up they are, it's going to be this duo.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see that top 4 didn't shift at all, right? Peterbot, Poyo, Ritual, Cold, Buzz, and Rise in that last game. You did call out, Viv. They did find, they only made it to 16th place rather, but they did find 3 eliminations, so they are still trying to make up those points. Again, you know, I'm trying, I want to be critical, right? Because this is day number 2. This is that moment where we are fighting for an Axe of Champions. We can't really make mistakes, but, you know, Viv, I'm having trouble, especially because it's just the first game. Like, there is always that feeler game that we just, need to come into, see how the lobby's kind of taken or adjustments they've made, and then, you know, take it from there.
I mean, without a doubt, our top 4, we're taking a look at them. Acorn and Bold still kind of maintained to their 4th place as well. But that being said, Acorn and Bold, they're on 348. And you remember how I was kind of mentioning with all of our kind of top 5 teams doing a little bit poorly this game in comparison to how they were doing yesterday. You know, Josh and Yamzo are kind of the best example to use here because Josh and Yamzo came into the day 19th place, around 220 points. They're now sitting on 327 points. So that game alone was around 100 points for them. And they were behind 100 plus points from Acorn and Bolts yesterday, but now they are only 21 points behind, sitting in 5th place. So yeah, these top 4 teams kind of sitting up there. They've got a little lead, but it has gone down tremendously after game number 7.
I honestly, Zeke, I mean, this is just game number 1 of day number 2. We have 5 more games to go. And honestly, the fact that we had so many of our bigger teams kind of fall down early, I love that. I want everyone in the top 10 to just be so close. I don't want to know who's going to win, who's going to go to globals until the final game.
That was their plan. They're like, hey guys, just like let's everybody just chill out, just feel their game. That's actually not what happened. That's not what happened at all. We'll have to see though how things shake out. 5 games left to go. With that being said, it is that time once again. The game is ready for us. So casters, for you.
Yeah, so this one's going to be an interesting day as it does continue because 1 point is difference. And if you look at the stats, there's 1 elim better for Peterbot and Poyo over Cold and Ritual, but they have just a little bit more consistency. Both teams having trouble with Surge at certain points in the game. This one is probably one of the best FNCSs in a while.
Yeah, really tough to go ahead and crack the case that is Cold and Ritual. So consistent, lurking in the distance, and we don't really follow their early game story too much, so they come up out of nowhere. But sounds like Game 8 is ready. Let's do it.
You know, it's not only the gap for first place that I'm looking at. As I go down the leaderboard, I try to count the teams that already have global spots secured, the ones who don't. Even that bubble for the global championship spot is just so close. Like Kelly said, I want to see this one go down to the very last game with everything on the line.
Yeah, the way this leaderboard is headed, it surely will do just that. But there was already a couple upsets from that last game, right? You have the Higgs and Curve dropping early. You have the Aegis and Veno falling prematurely as well. So a lot happening there. As we jump in with Dozer and Ishu, they seem to have just figured things out off the drop. A monstrous first game to kick things off, that second place giving them the momentum. And now that confidence comes surging in here as they drop their competition out the gate with no problems.
Like, I know we have big plans for the day, Brothers Moneymaker and for now. We have big plans, right?
I like
and
it.
One thing I learned over my time on this earth, is in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. And Fanayan and Moneymaker right now are definitely ready for a handful, and it works! It works! Down goes Peterbot. Now Poyo is left by himself with Moneymaker and Fanayan looking for him.
This is crazy. They have managed to successfully take down the second place team as well earlier in the competition in day 1, and now they're targeting our number 1, Peterbot and Poyo. Poyo's by himself. We've already given Poyo so much credit as far as what he is capable of as an individual player, but even with all that star fighting power, is it going to be enough to hold back Fanayan and Moneymaker? Well, look at things from Peterbot's perspective. He gets hit with a major surprise.
There's literally nothing he could. As soon as he took the porta potty teleporter, he was just done. They coned him off. They boxed it. There was no builds able to be placed. Even if somehow Peterbot one shot tagged one of them down, it's still a 2v1. So Moneymaker Fanayan still affecting the lobby all around. And it's almost a must, right? Because you kind of close out the day yesterday, 49th place for the most part, 18th place to start the day with 2 eliminations. So they need something to get back on track. And taking down Pete, that could be just it.
What's crazy about it too is like they just slowly influence all the teams' overall tournaments, right? Like these little things that they're doing is really having ripple effects, I think, across the entire competition. And that's why you have it, even people like Muzz, Rise, Acorn, Bolts still having this creeper like way up the leaderboards right now. All in all, I mean, I'm impressed, right? I'm really genuinely impressed with what Moneymaker and Fanayan have done on this region.
Yeah, I blame Veno and Queasy. Remember the Invitational? They're the ones who started it all. Peterbot popularized it, and now I feel like everybody is incorporating it into the game plan. Rightfully so. I know it was only a 1-point difference, but if you're one of those teams that are a little bit further down the leaderboard, the only way to stop such a consistent team is maybe to take matters into your own hands. That's exactly what they're doing. Batman Booga and Curve, aka Higgs and Curve this time around, just lurking off their mountain a little bit towards that team down below, which was Paper and Zen. Again, just trying to get some early game Surge. They have some of the most distance traveled on the map throughout the entirety of this tournament, so Surge is a primary factor of their game plan.
I just want to say, whoever's editing, Moneymaker Fanayan's video for the post-tournament, they're going to have the best post-tournament recap out of any team out there. Win or lose, doesn't matter. They're going to have the best highlights for sure.
Okay, slow and steady for Clicks and Rapid over on this side. Uncontested for the most part outside of that left building. And which I think kind of puts a little bit of a speed bump in their path as we kind of take a quick look at King and Craze. Vert just gets lurked on. Literally, this is just lurk after lurk so far in this game. Just key way to get eliminations. But as I was saying, you know, Clicks and Rapid coming into the tournament, they practiced a lot with that cube, able to kind of bounce them far to get eliminations. With Josh and Iamzo landing there, they don't necessarily have that same comfortability to use that as a part of their strategy.
Yeah, they've almost foregone that as a part of the strat. And again, that's just because you don't want to really cross their paths, right? Or leave yourself exposed to them as you rotate. Acorn Bullets, though, facing a little bit of resistance from Corellia and Jargu. They're also forced to disengage, give up the high ground position that they probably want to set up for. Muzz and Rise on the other side. Back to their trusty and true strat. They haven't really changed much, right? This team has almost consistently played these towers, and it's just worked out for them.
Yeah, you can kind of see double ARs. Typically, they kind of switch that for a pistol if they can later on in the game, or something that kind of shoots just a little bit quicker, just in case they get in those box-to-box scenarios. But this is what they're doing almost every single game, like you're saying. They're just accumulating as much surge as possible before they're forced to move out by the zone. But even then, they let all these other teams that are further back from them rotate first, and they use that as a way to just continue to get damage. As you jump on board, Pollo here for a moment, still wandering around as a solo. You got to imagine he has enough gold, but where the zone is going plays a huge role in if he's able to safely get the reboot back or not.
Yeah, definitely, as Webster has rotated into this drop. Again, Boyo is still one of the deadliest, right? If he just catches this lurk play and it works successfully, he can very much confidently take down whatever's left of any duo. He's kind of lurking around here. You still see F9's name in the distance there. They're not looking to give away a free reboot to Peterbot by any means. You got to respect that tenacity, right? That consistency here from them. They've almost even taken their strategy. They're like, yeah, we're the kings of the drop. Let's go ahead and build our surge tower here as well. I can respect that.
Continued action all around, though. Aoxy, Jojo Fishy trying to make up for that last game. You can kind of see the first drop is going to happen. Jojo Fishy's going to quickly get cleaned up. Not a lot of damage onto Veno and Aegis, so far, this being a true win, Surge included, especially now that they have Aoxy on the back foot, 2v1. Veno trying to spray from up above. Again, those Spire rifles, the amount of time you could just continuously spray, it's just very, very so much a nuisance, especially for somebody that is a solo, as Veno and Aegis finally attack from both sides, but it's not going to work. Veno's going to get dropped first. Aoxy actually does get the cleanup before falling, so some damage to slow down the roll that Aegis and Veno have been on.
Yeah, look at that in the distance. You see Victor V and Queasy as well. I wonder what they're thinking as they're hearing these shots go off here, as close as they were. But Boyo, Webster encrypted. We talked about that lurk play from Boyo here. He's setting up the 2v1s. He's saying, screw the lurk. I'm here to take this fight. He's doing it very much confidently. As this is happening, though, I'm looking at other teams kind of point their arrows in this direction. So there are other people interested in what might be happening here.
Yeah, outside of Pollo, you're right. 5 teams directly in Sinister Strip, a 6 on the outside. As CDZ and NAC come in this direction, they are lurking right behind, so they have no clue another team is this close. Literally just 1 box away, and Pollo's being persistent here. He knows, like, I need damage. I need a certain amount of loot, especially since I'm inside of the zone. If they see a solo trying to shockwave away, you know players will tend to chase after that for the eliminations here. But Webster Encrypted doing a good job of holding their ground here, not giving up any inches to Pollo, or at least not just yet, because that shot's certainly going to connect.
Yeah, I think what's more important is that they're slowly backing him down, and he's getting closer and closer to CDC and Nut, who are just outside. So Boyo's likely, I was going to say, probably going to disengage here soon. He's going to do enough damage, look to back out, or CDC and Nut are going to catch a glimpse of what's happening, and they're going to say, wait a second, he's by himself, and then capitalize on the elimination.
Yeah, you can kind of see Pollo realizing using so many materials here. He's going to disengage from the backside of Sinister Strip. But exactly what we were talking about. Spotted out as a solo. Wow. They put so much damage. A sliver of HP. That's all that's left. Nut and CDZ get slowed down for a short moment. The third party is coming to pour it in this direction. And they're still going to solidify the elimination nonetheless. But now they're the next target here at this south side of Sinister.
Well, Pollo and Peterbot fall in 40th place there. So Pollo's effort was amazing, but not good enough to push him through the impossible task, honestly, considering how many teams got to his drop there. Josh Nyamzo on the other side playing much, much more safe here, very passively holding down this metal fortress. And that's going to leave Ritual and Cold here with an exceptional amount of runway to go now. And think about it, they've been so consistent, right? Basically matching bar for bar on average elims and placement points.
Now, this is their chance to not only take first, but hopefully start to build a little bit of a cushion. They still got to worry about Muzz, Rise, Acorn, and Bolts. Yamzo and Josh, who just won that last game, they flew up the leaderboard into 5th place overall from outside of that Globals bubble to inside for sure. And they have the same strategy, you know, as a lot of teams that do land at that spot, that kind of half sunken. They immediately rotate over towards this mending machine. It's where they're getting a lot of their metal. Obviously, with the gold, that's how they're replenishing their loadout for the actual heals. So Josh and Yamzo just sticking to what isn't broken.
One thing to think about for Virgo and Shadow is that although they had a slow day one, they are picking things up with a strong pace here in day number 2. That big 7th place that they managed to pull off has effectively put them in the bubble, knocking on the door for a qualification spot. Again, not that they necessarily need it, but again, if they get to push other teams out, things start to open up.
Yeah, more and more eliminations that they get. Even King and Craze here, if they're able to catch fire, they're inside of that bubble. They're going to create that roll down effect. But even with them creating that roll down effect, every elimination they get on somebody outside of the bubble, they're essentially, you know, hurting their chances. They're siphoning points away from teams that do need it. So again, even if they got their global championship spot secure, there's so much for them, not only to play for, but impact here in this lobby as we jump on board 2nd place. I say that with knowing like just one placement point, one elimination would bounce them right into first. 306 above the damage threshold. It's not necessarily a mountain of damage that they're going to be everybody else, but they're definitely setting their path forward.
I like how they do this as well. Ritual goes first. Cold kind of looks out to see, okay, is anyone going to take shots that use that team going to take this? And almost using it as bait to find tags on the way. And again, F9 and Moneymaker kind of take up Peterbot and Pollo's strategy too. I'm thinking that their prep is in, obviously, the lurk, but then, okay, if we take down the team we are lurking on, what do they normally do? As they just adopt the strategy. They almost become the team, basically. It's a very interesting way to play the game.
I mean, I would follow those same strategies too, especially if I got that elimination onto Peterbot. Especially with both of them going down, but I did see this in the feed. Acorn dropped, Void dropped. It was a trade 1-for-1, but with no eliminations, the revive is going to come back through. And so for Acorn and Bolts, they just got to reset here in this situation. But be careful because Veno and Ager's doing it again. This is literally the same strategy for the most part that Veno used to come back from a 100-point deficit to win Major 1.
Oh, what a tough spot to be in, though. Agers, as he opens up fire, Acorn edits the window and finds him there. And now they're looking to finish the deed here. This is a really big elimination. This is actually a potential pace-changing elim for them right now. Veno falls here, and now this is going to be 2 back-to-back games where they get taken out early.
And you kind of see him just toying with the idea, do I go for the revive? I got to try to heal up. Acorn and Bolts are staring me down, so Ager's not going to be rescued, at least not here and now. Veno needs a heroic effort before going down. Acorn and Bolts, this could be the game. We were talking about it. It happened again in that last game that they stay alive as a duo, but I might have just cursed them. Hobby and a Minish out of nowhere, probably hearing the noise. They want to join in on the fun.
Yeah, and someone else does as well. Look, there's a fresh team coming in pretty aggressively as they need the extra damage here. Javi and Diminish are going to look to disengage instead. Not wanting to fight against the best here.
Rightfully so. Acorn and Bolts, you know, just getting it down, literally going from one fight to another. by getting those eliminations onto Veno and Agers, and since they already had the vending machine locked down, they're not necessarily too worried about the heals they're going to bring with them in the next stage in the game. They just have to be on their timing because it is a 2-tick. It is going into a 5-tick. As you jump on board, Queasy and Victor V, they're below the damage threshold, and Hobby and Aminish are underneath that bridge, also below that damage threshold.
I love that we get this updated kind of Queasy and Victor V fight too, because we have seen them have trouble game after game. Even if they make it to the end game, they have been so desperately below the damage threshold. But look at Victor Cook here as he drops Aminish. Again, this is another team that absolutely needed those eliminations and those points there, so Victor V gets rewarded. And it just couldn't have gone better for them right here. And they get to pick up the loot to go. So a nice way to kind of give them a foot in the door, but the problems are not done yet.
Nah, especially since you're only 180 above the damage threshold. And I'm not going to say this is a max pull. You can see in the mini-map, there are teams that do have it harder. But you see the shockwaves coming out, kind of leaves you open, a little bit of a risky rotation. But most of this path so far has been clear. Maybe 1-2 teams in their path overall. So for Queasy and Victor V, they just got blessed with a smooth rotation. They have to watch out when they do get there. Acorn Bolts, Muzz Rise, Bugin Braids, even Golden Ozone trying to take that same path.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say Queasy is just moving as well. Very smooth rotate there to get him straight ahead. And now he's shockwaving up for high ground. You already see them building up and over. Meanwhile, Ritual, Cold, comfortably solidified the lead now with that elimination there, putting them in first place here. 4 consistency points. How far can they push this opportunity? This is a rare opportunity where Peterbot and Pollo fall to a lurk strategy. Right? Not because they made any mistake, but because they were caught off guard. A very rare circumstance for something like Peterbot and Pollo.
Yeah, exactly, because they're the ones who usually pull out those tricks from underneath their sleeve. But you talked about taking this strategy, something that we saw literally Peterbot and Pollo do in the last game. Overstay at Sinister Strip, and because Moneymaker and Fnayan did, it is going to pull back, so they got to have the biggest blessing here in this game, along with Muzz and Rise. Their strategy to overstay on that mountain just outside of Calamari Canyon, working out tenfold, almost 500 damage above the threshold. They do have an item slot that is empty, so maybe they use some medkits to get here, but so far, they got to be looking good as Rapid and Clicks continue to heat up here in this tournament. Day 2, they find that elimination on the Encrypted.
I mean, listen, I don't want to put a jinx out there, so I'm not going to say what I'm really thinking about Clicks and Rapid right now, but so far, so good. I will leave it at that. Looking to the high ground, you see Moneymaker for 9. Again, pulling the zone here. Clicks and Rapid on the ultimate low ground now. Well above the surge threshold. They have that comfort. They have max material. And now we are moving into deep stages of the moving zones.
They're only roughly 34 or so points behind that first global qualification spot, that 6th place in terms of teams that do get to qualify. So they're not too far off. So they don't even necessarily need a miracle run today. They just need to do good enough, or maybe hope for the downfall of others. But either way, they still got to play their game out, just like Batman, Booga, and Curve. Disaster struck in that last game, went down relatively early, lost their top spot on the leaderboard inside of the top 5. But look how they're quickly bouncing back. Their mental game has to be strong here in a tournament like this.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, Curver has already expressed himself saying that he has found the confidence after becoming a champion of that first season alongside Veno and then doing what he did inside of Heats. It's really changed him as a player. At the end, though, it's going to be a matter of can they perform. I'm looking at Queasy find Calixi in the feed there as well. Noxy Dozier still getting active too. Moneymaker and Fnayan have so much height over the other teams here, but this is going opposite side, so I was going to say there's no way they're going to build across. Oh yeah, they are going to actually look to fully connect here. It's one way to play the high ground. Meanwhile, Muzz and Rise just doing exactly what they do best, not really forcing the issue, sticking to the low ground here. They get rewarded.
Yeah, and it's not just, you know, Ritual and Cold that have something to gain with Peterbot and Pollo going down. Rise and Muzz can very well overtake them on the leaderboard as well. A few teams can rightfully do that, but as Moneymaker and Fnayan still looking good up top, you have to watch out. Threats is there. You got Batman, Booga, and Curve there. You got Cold still lurking around, and even Clicks finding another elimination onto Noxy. You know, if the opportunity comes their way, high ground, they will try and take it.
When they have 8 shockwaves, right? You surely have to be thinking about it now. All it takes is for you to continue to shockwave to the front side of zone and work your way up slowly but surely. As I say that, though, they get hit to low ground. Meanwhile, back onto Higgs and Curve here. How are things looking for them? Not too bad, but out of the extra heals, so let's see what they can do, what little they have to work with. Little layer change here. Meanwhile, no one is contesting high ground. Not even Queasy, not even Victor V. They don't have heals. You can really see the problem starting to set and take form here in the end game, but the placement points are finally starting to rack up here now as teams are falling here. Ritual cold, though. Running things on the low ground here. This is Acorn and Bolts on the other side of the wall. A very important elimination is starting to line itself up here.
This is something they do best for the most part. They dominate that mid and low ground layers. Up until then, they get struck down. A flank comes in, but high ground gets overthrown as well. Rise and Muzz, and they're not even the ones that fought Moneymaker and F9. A chop in the backside of zone. They don't catch it in time, and they go down. All that effort to just slip through their fingers, and now Muzz and Rise are the ones with their heads in the clouds.
Very smart, and Muzz and Rise have been the only team we've seen game after game be extremely sneaky with looking to play late in this storm for a retake, or in this instance for the chop. It's playing off so well. Well, back to Batman Booga's got no curve. 5 material count left here. Let's see if he can play the way that his name was made. But here, we jump over Rapid, Cold, also run out of material. Meanwhile, Booga, true to his name too, popping off here in the end game.
He literally turned and burned him down. 5 different players in this game feeling the pressure of what it's like to be a solo. One less with Batman Booga going down. Victor V eliminated as well. Braids is going to fall. Booga just trying to hang on to the edge of the zone, make it to the front, and reassess the situation. He knows with only 1 build left, being a solo is a nightmare of a scenario, but he finds the elimination onto Aviv. Gets tagged from above. The Siphon keeping him alive, but without any materials, it's not for long.
He plays it well. In the end, though, Muzz and Rise are raining down Terra here. 9 eliminations now, working their way towards another 10 bomb here. But it's Clicks and Rapid healthy on the low ground. They have absorbed all the Siphon material. And now, here comes the final fight. Muzz. Wait, is that a shockwave out for the heal play? Okay, so he's gonna leave Rise to fight this one off by himself here. Rapid and Clicks look to go for the 2v1, but Muzz might have made a small mistake. He comes back in, and Clicks and Rapid actually have control high.
Yeah, the tables have definitely turned, but it's the material count for both of the players that are weak. They're shockwaving up, they're taking the extra angle. The Mythic Warforged, it's just burning through those materials. Shockwaving from both of them. Rise and Clicks trade shots, but Rapid's gonna get dropped. Clicks makes up for it with a down onto Rise. 1v1, no builds. First shot's gonna land, but he needs the Siphon. It comes in just in time, but Muzz is still gonna shut it down. 11 eliminations and possibly a new first place team.
Great fight as well. Clicks, we know we love to see you do what you do, but Muzz, we enjoy just as much there. Zeke, game number 8. What a round.
Sorry, passed out there. What happened? That's crazy. Whoa. You know what's really crazy about that? We just saw the last game, an 11 elimination victory royale to start the day, and then Muzz and Rise were like, oh, you guys like that? You guys like that action? Sweet, watch this. Oh my gosh, to think this all kind of started, Kelly, because of a chop, because of Moneymaker and F9 on the high ground suddenly get chopped, and Muzz and Rise look up and go, we should just go up there.
And listen, we'll talk about Moneymaker and F9 after this break. But yes, Muzz and Rise being able to identify that F9 is going down, taking that high ground, and then being able to control it. But we heard it from our casters there. There was a moment where it looked like maybe they were going to go for the heal off. Maybe it was just a misplay of the shockwave grenade, but able to recover. And then it coming down to a 1v1. We got X-Set versus X-Set. And way to set our expectations. Absolutely incredible, Vivid.
Muzz and Rise are our first team here in Major number 2 Grand Finals to pick up a second victory royale. And listen, it was done very, very clean. Actually, it was pretty similar to how they got their first victory royale as well. Kind of height control, and then Muzz kind of left down to this 1v1 situation where he just takes it Nice and slow and easy. Make sure he doesn't take any damage. Unfortunately, Clicks could not find the angle necessarily. That's just because Muzz was playing it so well. And listen, Zeke, I know that you're probably going to want to scream here very, very shortly. I'm looking over at the leaderboard, and I want everybody at home to kind of realize that very, very shortly when we come back from the break, look at the leaderboard, you might want to cover your ears because it's going to get crazy. But Muzz and Rise, man, just played it so well. And what's crazy about this, take a look at their eliminations kind of going into 8 zone. Actually only had a single one kind of entering this end game, but they started to rein in, of course.
And once again, we talked about at the start of the show, this early game where they have this plateau, they have this high ground, and it allows them kind of in this center area to rotate regardless of where they are, getting themselves into a prime position before we get into these moving zones. And that is what is allowing them to just kind of be efficient, survive these mid to late games, and then being able to steal height with tons of mats, tons of heals, and of course a great loadout with their ammo and everything. I love to see it. They have come into this tournament with a game plan, and they have just been executing it so perfectly as the tournament has gone on. 2 games for two victory royales, but Zeke, I think these guys can make it 3.
I mean, the way that they are playing right now, this is their tournament to lose, right? Like, they are going on a spree right now. Yeah, 468 points there. Not a big deal. I wonder where Muzz will be on the leaderboard after this break. No idea where he could be. I don't... Oh, sorry about that, guys. I just passed out. I had a crazy dream that Muzz and Rise got a victory royale, and he 1v1 the CEO and he won, and he had 468 points, and he was in first place. What a crazy dream to There's no way that the standings would reflect that, right? That's not real life, isn't that? Is that gonna be kind of crazy if that happened, Kelly?
Oh, 468 points, 66 points ahead of Ritual and Cold. And also, Acorn and Bolts is jumping up. Peterbot and Pollo drop down. And of course, we know that Moneymaker and Fortnite now have a giant target on their back. But Vivid, how can you put a target on a moving target? Because they're just dropping everywhere. So much is going on. But of course, we do have to look at what happened to Peterbot and Pollo in this game.
Yeah, Moneymaker and F9 trying to make something happen. We've kind of seen this. Again, they were kind of expected to be landing somewhere completely different on day number one. They decided to go ahead and opt to just kind of, land wherever they want to. Moneymaker and F9 kind of playing anti-strat here against Peterbot and Polyo, just kind of waiting for Peterbot to go ahead and take that porta potty and into the loving arms of Moneymaker and F9. That being said, listen, you can see for the first time in forever, I feel like since we've kind of, jumped into the competition yesterday, Moneymaker and F9 have actually left the top 10. They are now 12th place with 270 points. So the strategy right now is currently not working for those guys. Obviously, though, for Muzz and Rise, working very, very well for them because all of our top teams, man, are struggling to kind of do well. Second place, Ritual and Cole, they're kind of holding on to that second place, but they're kind of used to having just a 1-point disparity between them in first place. And now it's 66 points because game number 7, they got 15th. And in that game right here, game number 8, they got 16. So Ritual and Cold are struggling to kind of play as consistently as they did yesterday.
Yeah, you can just see between their loadout, comparing what we saw at end games from today and yesterday. They just don't have that many mats. They don't have any heals to go into this end game. And what they relied on yesterday to get these easy, quick refreshes just aren't working out in their favor. You could see them pushing so hard onto Acorn, trying to get that elimination quickly. But unfortunately, if you even take just a few extra seconds to get that elim, especially in the end game when everyone is so close to each other, you just have that back open and it allows other people to get eliminations onto you. But of course, just looking at this leaderboard right now, we can see that a lot of our global qualifying teams are slowly starting to climb up into that top 6 spot. We see Kingling, we see Shadow now in 7th and 8th. If they're able to break into the top 6, that allows these qualifying spots to drop down. And look who's in 9th place right now. Clicks and Rapid, the team that we thought potentially after day number 1 might have fallen off, might have not had an opportunity to really recover. But of course, we get this game right now, Vivid, game number 9, where Clicks, the CEO himself, is showing up everyone. And it was so close to the final moment of a 1v1 where Clicks could have come out on top, but second place is still pretty dang good.
Yeah, this is exactly what Clicks and Rapid needed, a little bit of a reset. I mean, obviously the second place with 5 eliminations here in game number 8 is going to be the highlight so far of day number 2 for them. But I mean, game number 7 was also pretty good in 8th place with 2 eliminations. So they have seemingly figured something out. They just have to kind of keep it rolling here. And yeah, you mentioned it. Clicks and Rapid are in 9th place. I did also see Aegis and Venom there in 10th place. And, with Kingling and Craze and Shadow and Virgo kind of jumping into the top 10. Yeah, those global qualifying spots right now, the threshold is currently 10th place. So everybody in our top 10 would be going to globals right now as it currently stands. But there are still 4 games left to play. And if game number 7 and game number 8 have taught me anything, it's that this leaderboard is not done changing at all. So all of our teams still got to play well.
Yeah, man. Now the competition is getting closer and closer, right? I mean, it's really only Muzz and Rise that have that lead. Everyone else is very close, from 2nd to like 7th place. You can even argue 8th place as well. This could continue to go any which way, and it's all off the backs of what you called out earlier, Vivid. If a team has these, kind of rough games where they place like 16th or further out, everyone else is going to take that opportunity to climb that leaderboard because we're all fighting for one of 6 spots going to the global championships. Oh, I'm getting super excited. We are ready though. Game number 9 is here. We got to jump right back into action. I'm going to find my seat on the bus to cheer on Muzz and Rise. I mean, to watch Fortnite. Let's go, casters.
Zeke's losing it, and we're only halfway through. Well, after this game, of course, but Jacob, it is heating up here.
No, it definitely is. I thought the 1 point difference was exciting, but Muzz and Rise getting their second victory royale, and it's been since 2024 was one of the last times we seen Rise at the top of the leaderboard. They were so close in that major after day one. It fizzled away, but this could be the moment. I feel like this is a resurgence of Muzz and Rise.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, the way that they're playing right now, it is slow and steady, and then out of nowhere, explosive when they decide to go for high ground. This execution's looking perfect. So far, we haven't seen them actually have this amount of pressure, though, playing when you're in the race to the finish line, right? So for Muzz, it's been a while since he's had this on his shoulders.
Yeah, and then you also take into the fact that, honestly, every single time there's a new team in first place, there's some sort of shenanigans that does go down. The next game is ready. Let's see if those same things will continue here.
You're not wrong, Jacob. Whenever we have a team in first place on NA, something always happens. A team always decides, usually it's Peter Bot Employer, in fact, that they want to take this championship home, and that's what they end up doing. But right now, you know, that's not really their bigger concern. I think their other concern is, can I just be consistent enough and kind of make my way through to the end game? For Dozier and Ishu, though, they've managed to kind of tighten up their drop against Skittles and won the first two games here, but Ishu's going to be the first casualty of this engagement. Dozier tries to disengage. Can he get far enough? Yes, he can. He's actually lucky they just had SMGs, so his tournament's not over yet. Meanwhile, I saw on the feed there, Shadow and Virgo seem to have been contested as well. So there's a lot happening here.
Yeah, this is kind of, you know, game 3 of day 2, game 9 overall. So we're not necessarily on the halfway point of day 2 just yet, but you can see that teams really kind of starting to change things up. Moneymaker, Fanayan, they go back on over towards the split 0-point drop where Oliver OG and Paper and Zen are battling it out. They let the fight start and they crash the party yet again. A strategy as far as the early game goes that has been working near flawlessly. It's about executing in the end game. X-Spawn just trying to stay alive, but he does have the sliders, and he's trying to slide his way to safety, but eventually they're going to cut off each and every path, especially more so when he run out of builds. But he right now is moving right now, Monster.
Yeah, definitely moving. As Moneymaker and Fanayan tried super hard to go ahead and get those eliminations. In the end, they do succeed. You know what's crazy, too? I know Vivid kind of said, hey, like, it's not really working for them, but is it? Like, I don't know. I think the strategy is sort of working, because when you look at them in their survival time, the last two games, 20 minutes and 19 minutes respectively. So they were deep into the end game, and something at that point went south. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see if Fanayan and Moneymaker will pull another big end game and steal away a global championship spot.
Especially since the leaderboard is that close. You know, not only you having a good performance in one of these games, but somebody else, like we've seen today already, you know, missing out on some crucial placement points. I think as Zeke was saying, top 15, top 16 or worse in some of these games, leaving a lot of points on the board. As King and Craze, we see him outside the Calamari Canyon trying to take advantage of H-Cube and Vlex. Good damage is there, but Craze gets tagged up himself. That's going to slow the roll just a little bit, but King is making sure to keep a bird's eye view on them.
See how it's going to play out for King and Craze. You know, there's no pressure on this team. For them, it's just pop off, play well, and prepare for globals. They already have that positioning there amongst the greats, and this is just a battle for, of course, the leaderboards and the history. For HQ, for VLEX, much different story on hand here. They have been playing a very strong day 2, so one of the few teams that have actually adjusted their strategy, sort of found their footing there in the last game, pulling that 3rd place there. And just that alone kind of puts them at least off to a better start here today.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they got tagged up or maybe heard the noise from Cade and Seal on the other side, but they're going to go ahead and choose to disengage. Rightfully so. When you're running out of builds in a prolonged fight like that, having that third party shoot your direction is probably the worst thing to happen. Back on over to Latte, though. Even with Agers going down, Veno is going to hold his ground. Back-to-back eliminations yet again. Veno and Agers, they want to not only qualify for the Global Championship, but they want to give themselves a fighting chance for the actual win.
I think this works better for Victor V and Queasy as well, right? Because the few times that Veno and Arizona Agers don't take this fight, they rotate out towards Victor V and Queasy, and that's where we find them having third parties, lurk plays, and things over there. So at least right now, them kind of taking their time here, winning the fight, they'll be more likely to linger around their drop and cap out their loadouts. Something went horribly wrong here for Acorn, though. I'm not too sure what exactly would have happened, though.
Yeah, my only guess is whoever that is, Chimp and 20 nearby, maybe found the elimination. They are hiding in a bush. Either way, Booga and Braids in the distance. So Bolts needs to start figuring out where he's going to go, how he's going to get Acorn back in the game. Luckily for him, though, the zone is kind of pulling off these shorts, so we'll see teams from Golden Grove and further south on the map start to rotate on out, so that could be his small window of opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's see it here. Boyo Peterbot from their draw spot. You can see they're not sticking around for too much longer than they also have to. They've gone chase the team down, got a nice little set of eliminations, and back they come to the Sinister Strip. If the last game told us anything, is that teams will gladly rotate in here. So we've already known now that Peterbot and Boyo have a lot to look out for and can't let their guard down.
I feel like nobody should feel safe in this game at this point in time. How many lurks have went around today, yesterday, especially if you were able to rod view it. As Moneymaker for Nyan end up in a tough situation. Iamzo and Josh right now just trying to push him out. Moneymaker's going to be the first one dropped, and Iamzo gets both of those eliminations. So even though Josh has been playing phenomenal today, Iamzo has been the consistent heartbeat for this duo, getting them out of tough situations, clutching up as a solo, and I think that is allowing for Josh to feel as confident as he has here today.
Well, you know what? That's a big elimination. F9 and Moneymaker falling early, they were one of the few teams that were basically tied on the bubble for one of the consistency spots between the 10 to 12 position teams. The gap down from there is about 40 points. So now that one of those few teams have fallen, this leaves a little bit of runway for someone to take away a consistency spot from a different team.
Looking at Dash, Noxy, Victor V, Queasy, Angel, Batman Joe, even Dozier and Ishu. Still plenty of opportunities as the leaderboard does go down. Just need to be able to not only have one big game, but close out the day strong. This game here and 3 more to close it out. And you're kind of seeing everybody begin to rotate in. Rapid clicks. Again, you seem like a little resurgence from them here in day number 2. And I think part of that is focusing on getting that Storm Surge. We saw their struggles yesterday where they were on the line, below that damage threshold, and it kind of forces your hands. Now they just have a whole different freedom.
Yeah, most definitely. Muzz and Rise have the most Spire rifle damage of all teams with 4,776. I think it's really fitting of this duo as well. Like we talked about, their history, their tenure. These players date way back to their early Scrim Q-Snipe days, right? These are the guys that were a part of the innovative strategies of Surge Towers. They're used to playing high ground and going for tags for your primary means to get Surge, so it makes sense that they would be dominating in that way here. But, Jacob, what is this action here? You have Liam and Jace on the edge of Storm taking a fight up against Zeke.
And Taki down below. Probably just trying to get some early surge. You can kind of see relatively on E when it comes to those materials, so trying to replenish everything they're using and losing in these moments here. But for Liam J, Zeke, Taki, the longer and longer this one takes, the harder and harder it is going to be able to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and turn it into a phenomenal game. Still 1 tick per second inside of the zone. And that's where you kind of see on Taki at the bare minimum. 90 left on the Chug Jug. That's the only real HP he's going to be able to get back.
Yeah, that's pretty much the last of the squeeze there. Well, Liam and Jace, they've kind of had enough here in the Storm. They have a long rotate as well. You saw the first zone closing somewhere around that Sinister Strip territory of the map, so quite a fair bit to travel here.
You can kind of see even with Liam and Jace trying to disengage, they realize there's like no builds. Everything's kind of farmed, so they're just kind of leaving themselves exposed just like that. Liam getting tagged up again. Zeke and Taki just trying to take the last couple of opportunities there. Since they did end up in a fight, they did take damage. Just trying to ease up on that pressure. Higgs and Curve, aka Batman Booga and Curve on the north side of Lifty Lodge. So we saw that as you were talking about, the bottom of the zone over towards Sinister Strip, the north side over towards Lifty Lodge. And since you see at the kind of the bottom left of the mini map, you kind of see it's kind of circling in that direction. So we are pulling west as well. We're going to see where the zone goes in roughly 10 or less seconds. And so hopefully for Higgs and Curve, this could be the game that gets them right back on track from yesterday.
Yeah, they're not out the race. They're not out of the conversation. Yeah, they might have had a little bit of a difficult, right, first game, second game to kind of start stuff off, but that last round they fought their way to the end. Meanwhile, Crazy and Kingaling just continue to take that confidence through to a whole different level, slowing down HQ there, the big elimination. Meanwhile, Bolts, again, no Acorn in sight, right? So he's having to fight this one out. He's taking on a 2v1 right now. Already he's got himself an elimination, and he's got an HP lead.
Yeah, for Siphon, since he has no extra HP, is important. As we kind of switched on over, I did see Acorn for a second, but he did go down again. So Bolt's getting the reboot off. Clixie and Aiden trying to take advantage of at least one of those two players. But little did they know it was Acorn and Bolts right now feeling confident. Push that player off. He has full control over the mending machine. And so it should be another chance here in this game that we will see Acorn back in.
I was going to the standings here just to see where Clixie and Aiden are standing. They definitely have had a bit of a rougher day the last few games. They've made it a bit further than some of the other positions, but all in all, still trying to find their groove. Meanwhile, Curly, Tyler push off Virgo and Shadow here. Virgo and Shadow off to the races. Just trying to get positioned safely. Again, one of the few teams inside of the top 10 that are holding a global championship spot, so they're kind of the spoilers, of course, in the mix here if they end up taking down anyone who's fighting for their chance.
And typically with a lot of like these lurks and these plays, it's kind of those global championship spots that are already secured, that is playing a role from some of these teams getting uncontested, getting a little bit of freedom in the game plan that most others won't be able to fill. So for Peterbot and Poyo, just going to let them rotate past, but Shadow and Virgo unknowingly rotating directly into King and Crazy. Literally in a matter of seconds, you blink, you missed it. Shadow and Virgo actually take down King and Crazy.
This is excellent for everyone else. This is excellent. You have a team that's already qualled, taking out another team that's already qualled. So, you know, no harm, no foul to everyone else who is, of course, battling for a chance to global champs. But Shadow and Virgo really flexing their strength here.
You can see as you kind of look at the leaderboard, specifically going into this game, there's Muzz with that 66-point gap, and then it's a 10-point, then it's 15, then it's 40. So some places at the top leaderboard relatively close. Others have a little bit more of a gap. And King and Crazy was one of those teams that had that little bit of a gap over Shadow and Virgo. So that's 8th place, taking on 7th place throughout the course of this game. As Ritual and Cold had a chance to take first. They had it throughout the course of that game, but back-to-back 15th, 16th place finish kind of slowed down a little bit. Not fully fizzled out, so hopefully they can reignite that flame.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they're off to some hot rotates here. Nice and early before teams kind of get situated here, utilizing that natural terrain here to keep a low profile and cut straight across. Meanwhile, the high ground of Muzz and Rise, they're playing deep in the storm here. They still have the launch pad to work with. And then plenty of shockwaves, of course, as well. All these extra heals here, too.
You're seeing a major difference, though. You know, at this point in time in that last game, because the zone pulled in their direction, what were they, like 400, 500 above the damage threshold? But since the zone is pushing everybody out, and because they still have to loot up in their early game, they missed a huge window of opportunity, and that's why you're seeing them not as high up on the threshold, but almost 200 damage. It's got to have a little bit of feeling of confidence here. They're just waiting for what seems like the last possible second to make their rotate on out, so that way when they do start to make their journey on over, they have that shockwave effect to close the gap that much quicker.
Yeah, this is a risky play for them, though. They're staying super deep in the storm. Off they go. Meanwhile, Yamzo and Josh, 263 above, already safely positioned inside of the storm here, playing a bush, trying to look for any teams to late rotate out from the edges of the zone. see the shockwave here. He's going straight to the new zone, carrying that momentum with a couple hops there.
Uh-oh. Even though they're above the damage threshold, not sure where everybody's at, especially the ones close around him. Contrap, Darzi, they can be below. Forced to fight the first team they see, but Yamzo and Josh, seeing Shadow and Virgo rotate next to him, they're going to use that as a signal to continue their journey. And it's just in a situation here with Storm Surge being so tight, you almost want to think to your head, oh, I can one-hop this, one shockwave, that's all it takes. But sometimes you want to do exactly what Yamzo and Josh are doing and kind of leapfrog your way there. Minimize the amount of open trajectory that you're doing with those shockwaves, so that way it minimizes the amount of opportunities that you're giving teams to take shots in your direction.
Definitely. As this is all going down, though, you see the feed starting to light up here. Other teams that are likely having that surge warning forced into fights. And I'm talking about Victor potentially, as we saw him catch 2 elims already. Meanwhile, Ritual and Cold again taking full-on advantage of that early rotate. They were the first team to position up here, and they've managed to put a lot of pressure on different duos. I'm actually surprised they're even playing the edit this way with how exposed they are to these other teams with high ground. And you see right there, the full burn from Curve and Veno take down Queasy as they try to rotate through.
And they're actually going to be able to pick up that loot on the Queasy. Cold and Ritual, though, not necessarily getting distracted with anything that's going on their right side. They're just trying to kind of put the zone in a little bit of a funnel and focus on that funnel. That way they don't tunnel vision too hard. And they're just continuously distracting. Victor V in the distance will fall shortly after Queasy as well. So they're kind of leaving it into the last 3 games of the day to try to make their dash towards the top side of the leaderboard. Muzz and Rise, winners of that last game, the team with a 66-point gap. You saw them continuously climb up the Storm Surge threshold. With only 13 players needing to go down, it might not necessarily be a worry for them for the rest of this game.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't be. But right now, looking at the zone, everyone's already making that rotate here. So this is going right back and up out of the Frosted Flats and into some weird terrain, some interesting territory to come. But look who's there early. You have Cooper already playing some high ground. That's the first that we've seen from them. Meanwhile, Clicks and Rapid sticking to that low ground that worked so well for them last game. Only down to 2 shockwaves, so have to start preserving here. Curve and Batman Booga have a tough rotate, though. Lost one on the move here. This is where things can start going south for a team like Curve and Higgs. They actually need this qualification, and for them to start slowing down now and finding a little bit of friction here on their overall points, this is going to be tough if Curve can't pull some placements.
Yeah, especially since when I was talking about that gap earlier on within the top 10, it's a Peterbot and Poyo with a little bit of that gap, 42 points going into this game, so they got to figure out a way to close it. Even though Peterbot and Poyo are not necessarily the competition for global spots, they're the direct competition for the top side of the leaderboard. Shadow going to go down to Tyler. Peterbot and Poyo this game, unlike many of the other games so far, not necessarily peaking for the high ground, or at least not early. Ritual and Cold pick up a couple of eliminations themselves. It's still an all-out battle for that first place spot.
That's a devastating elimination, by the way, onto Dash and Noxie, who are on the bubble for qualification, getting themselves in through consistency. Now that's going to be a major setback. They only earned a couple of points here for placement as we're inside the top 20 now. I'm still seeing Veno standing there in the distance. See Agers as well accompanying him, so that's really strong. But for Peterbot and Poyo, you saw that almost every game that they've managed to comfortably make their way towards, and they have fought for the high ground for the most part. They are no strangers to, of course, battling for it. Meanwhile, Bolts and Acorn, talk about coming back here and finding their way back in the competition. That's a key elimination.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that big Bolts and Acorn game together as a duo, and as they catch Skittles shockwaving out in midair. And that's something we've seen Bolts do so much, the midair eliminations. It's kind of like the guy that you count on to really make these plays matter. Reet and Cooper, they connect from one place to another, trying to hold their position up above. Clicks and Rapid down below, get aggressed on through the side. They quickly answer that one, backtracking their steps, but it's only going to last for so long. There's so much pressure coming around from all around the lobby. It's one team and then the next and then the next, so they have to be on their toes.
Rapid making the smart call there to get off the layer as well. For a second, I was like, oh no, you're leaving Clicks behind. But luckily, they managed to connect back together. Curve, though, we put the pressure on him. You can see he's still holding it down here as a solo, earning more and more points. How many times can we trust in Curve to clutch up here in the tournament? Either way, though, it's working right now. Big pressure coming in. Shots raining down. Ritual also playing this one out by himself. This is important for Ritual as well if they want to race for first.
Yeah, it's no time to let your foot up off the gas by any means, but it's also hard for any team to look up and Shockwave up there. Peterbot, Poyo take down Muzz. Rise is still alive here, and Rise's solo clutch opportunity is huge. Top 10 is where you at least get half of the placement points for Rise. That should bare minimum be the goal, but Rapid gets the get back. Poyo was down. Peterbot left by himself. Clicks and Rapid find their first elimination of the game, and it's on Peterbot and Poyo.
Curve solo, Peterbot solo. This is getting really interesting. Curve still finding eliminations as well and gets the key follow-up. That's a top 15 and some extra placement points, though. Just a little bit of cushion to work with. Getting back into the action now. I still see Rise standing. I see Peterbot up as well. Rise, though, taking a toe-to-toe fight with Clicks and Rapid here. Looking for a little opportunity to get in there. He's going to end up following close on their trail here. 50 HP in the chug. It's going to keep him alive for a little bit longer. There's a clear breakaway moment, but look at this on the other side. Josh falls to the hand of Peterbot.
That's a big elimination there because Rise picks up another. The Siphon, the 140 on the Chug Jug. Solo on solo action. Rise is making sure nobody has a chance to really close the gap, but Bolt sends it flying up towards the high ground. They're alive together as a duo, but Acorn might have been late to the party, which means Bolts just got tagged up time and time again. Reet and Cooper from two different sides, continuing to Shockwave up, and they return back to their glory on the high ground and even get that elimination on Acorn.
We see this before when teams go for it. If you can't get that initial elimination, it's going to be tough. And then whoever times it next usually comes out ahead. And this time, it's Veno, it's Azers. The storyline for this team here, for Veno in particular, who's trying to go back-to-back on NAC now, this is how you make up points here.
Yep, he did it in Major 1, trying to do it here again, but another phenomenal clutch so far from Clicks, getting those points. That last one, second place, got them inside of the bubble. This one right here is keeping them in the bubble. But Booga Braids, who also still need a big game. Golden Ozone, who also still need a game to get inside of the top 10. They're all down below. They're the ones that are more than likely going to clash next. As Golden goes down, Braids gets the elimination. That's their 7th one of the game. But there's still solos running around this lobby and targeting from the high ground. That's just making it hard for them to breathe.
Yeah, I think Veno actually lost track of Ozone, who's playing the Storm right now with the quick heal off. This can go either which way. There's still another player there as well, but no, Veno's too quick. That's 10 eliminations now. Reet's up top, Agers comes flying, and it's a 2v1. Reet comes down, he's out of HP, and just like that, Agers and Veno fight their way back into the tournament.
Yep, coming into this game around 10th place on the overall leaderboard. Even with these roll down spots, it's no feeling of comfortability at all. So they came in, they swung for the fences, and a victory royale means they hit the home run. Rising up the leaderboard they go, Zeke.
Guys, listen, guys. My little hummingbird heart cannot take this much excitement, okay? We need to calm down. Kelly, have we had 3 games in a row of victorials with 11 eliminations?
First of all, Vivid, he says we, like you and I, are on the same level as him. But yes, absolutely incredible. And maybe I'm a little biased to see Reet and Cooper on height. But regardless, we have been waiting for this part of Veno and AG to kind of just get locked in, show up, because yesterday they proved themselves. But it's been a little bit of a slow start for them for day 2. But Vivid, we finally got to see them. And once again, it was from this really smart height take. They see a team on height, controlling it for a little bit. They wait for someone to try and steal it from them. And then that's when they go on the steal themselves. Beautiful play from them.
Yeah, I mean, Agers and Veno just played it super well. You can see we're going to actually jump into when they started to go ahead and apply the pressure to the high ground. You can see Cooper and Reet, they're just very, very low. And this is on the back foot of Acorn and Bolt as a duo kind of sending it up to the high ground. So Agers and Veno kind of heard the shots that were going on up above them. We're like, hey, listen, we got to go ahead and get in on the action. So it was pretty easy for the taking after they kind of realized that. And then it was all about picking up this couple of stragglers down on the low ground to go ahead and secure a bulk of their eliminations there, but this was kind of set up throughout the entirety of the end game for Venom and Agers, because we kind of saw it. They were playing that second height level, even though it was like 5 or 6 boxes kind of below the high ground.
Right.
They were kind of playing for it. They were waiting to hear something kind of going above them, and as soon as that happened, they were ready and primed up for the taking. So yeah, like MDF kind of called it out, Agers and Veno kind of bring themselves back into the competition with a great game number 9.
Oh man, one game. Fortnite fam, don't you ever forget, till this is done, one game can suddenly change this leaderboard. Remember, we're fighting for prize money, active champion, and one of 6 spots going to the global championships. I'm gonna pass out. We're gonna go to a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the standings. See you shortly. Fortnite fam, we've been treated to some cinema. It's only the first 3 games. We have 3 more games to go, and already the action has been incredible. We wanted to take a moment here. Let's check out the players in focus, powered by Milk. Let's just look at some stats real fast, okay? This is what we like to do, just kind of look in, see how things are unfolding. Wow. You know, I'm not surprised. We just watched Veno and AJ get themselves that 11 elimination victory royale. And Kelly, now Veno leads in eliminations.
I mean, he led in eliminations when we were looking at Major 1 as well. So to see him on the top of this is not too much of a surprise. Same thing goes for Cold. We've just seen how devastating he can be in these early, mid, and late game fights. And then Poyo, of course, with that mythic AR in his hand. You know, to see this, honestly, Vivid, this just seems like we could have just kind of created this randomly, been like, oh, this is a prediction that we're going to have for what's going to happen during grand finals. And to just see all of these top players up here represented is, you know, that's NAC.
Pollo, though, 96 solo clutch points. Peterbot and Pollo combined as a duo in total have 116 solo clutch points. So Pollo has kind of been the one to kind of keep things alive and keep the ball rolling for the duo. Of course, Peterbot was kind of given the opportunity in just that last game, but unfortunately, everything was kind of up against them there. But yeah, all of our players kind of playing well. And I know that Venno, we showed it right there, he is top in the eliminations right now, but he's actually been going back and forth with Rise. I think Rise is actually in second place, just right behind him with 25, whereas Venno has 26. So things are close on that elimination leaderboard, but Zeke, they're also close on the standings.
They really are. I mean, I don't feel like I need to talk about Muzz and Rise being in first place. Not a big deal. Wanted to highlight here, Acorn and Bolts moving up the... Guys, I like... These games have been so crazy to me. Every single time we like conclude a game, the leaderboard just shifts, and it's like only just like by 1 or 2 placements, with a new team kind of jumping up to attack this top 5. Kelly, it's so exciting because I feel like this is going to come down to the wire. That last game, this
100%.
game 12 of the tournament, is going to be just incredible.
And to see Acorn and Bolts being able to kind of, you know, have a decent performance in day number 1, but maybe not necessarily as good as we thought they were going to do, and then continue to make them climb up the leaderboard for day 2. I will say, though, there was a moment here when they went to go steal height, but it looked like they weren't together, Bolts and Acorn, in kind of different layers when they went for something so imperative as stealing height. You really need them to be able to just be box to box, synergizing together, and I feel like they fell just a little bit short here, and that's why they weren't able to convert this height steal into a successful victory royale. But I say that, I'm being a little judgmental. They're in second place. They're still climbing the leaderboard, Vivid.
Yeah, still keeping things going here. Now, there's something kind of happening on page 2 here on these standings. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Oh.
Now, I don't want to freak out or anything like that. I want to make a big deal out of it. But Booga and Brazy, go ahead and freak out for me, man. I mean, this has been a crazy day 2 so far. Let me go ahead and set the scene for everybody at home. After day 1, Booga and Braids had 86 points. They were in 28th place. They have flown all the way up in these first 3 games on day number 2 to 12th place. And their placements in these 3 games, Kelly, it's been crazy. They've gotten 4th place, 4th place, and 4th place. They've gotten 4th place in every single one of the games here on day number 2.
Listen, I'd be lying if I was to say that I'm not excited to see how well Booga and Braids are doing. A little bit of a shock for our players to come into day number 1 having not necessarily the best performance, but then to see them clearly reviewing, voting, making sure that they are changing whatever fell short in day number 1. And clearly that has worked out. And it's not just working out for games number 7, 8, and 9, but you can see that they're able to grab more and more eliminations for these games. So not only have they made improvements from day 1 to day 2, but they're also making improvements throughout the games in the day.
Guys, 3 games left to go. If I'm not mistaken, currently, if we ended the tournament here, we're looking at a top 8 right now, Vivid.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, if we just stop the tournament, you need to be top 8 to move on to the Global Championships, and we still have 3 more games to go, Viv. I don't know how much crazier this is gonna get with 3 more games.
Yeah, 344 points is currently that threshold. I mean, we kind of just talked about them. So Booga and Braids, we did see them. They're on 286. So where it's kind of like this big fall off, this big drop in points just from like 10th place down to that 12th place spot. So still a lot of work to do for any of our teams that are kind of not here on this top 10 page. But if you're playing as consistently as teams like Booga and Braids are right now, you got to start to think whether or not they can do it. But Clicks and Rapid, they're currently in that 8th place spot. They got to hold on, Kelly.
I was about to say, are you not going to mention 8th place? Are you not going to mention the teams that have qualified to global championships?
Trying to just lay
and
low.
Rapid. I know. We don't want to say it. We don't want to bring it into fruition because then if you put it out into the universe, maybe the universe fights back. Listen, very excited for how our top 8 is looking right now, and that might shift. We might have some of our players. We can see how close Golden Ozone, Shadow Virgo, King Ali, and Craze, they're all on that outside of the edge. So much can still change in these final 3 games, Zeke.
That's right, Kelly. This is the halfway point of the competition. 3 games left to make your mark and hopefully fight for one of those 6 spots, the Global Championships. Find your seats on the battle bus. It's game time.
Thank you so much. And one thing that I did notice, Monster, is the fact that Muzz and Rise, 514 points, one more good game, they secure a global championship spot.
Yeah, definitely. They're getting very, very close. They've already gapped the competition. And I was looking, they're just reporting in that 58 points separate Bugha to the qual spot. But if that were to happen, then we're kicking out Clicks or Josh or Yamzo or Higgs. Like, how do we choose one of these teams? You just can't. In the end, it's going to come down to who deserves it most. But let's get on this battle bus one more time.
Teams outside of the bubble, teams inside of the bubble. Both of them have teams that are for the global championship already secured. So even though there's teams still fighting for their spots, there's still disruptors in the mix. And right now, when you kind of look at it, 344 points, Clicks and Rapid, they are that line for the global championship. And they were mentioning Bugha and Braids, roughly 60 points away, which is definitely doable in these next 3 games.
Yeah, most definitely. It's getting down to the wire here. I'm just thinking about how far ahead Muzz and Rise are and how badly do other teams want this, right? Muzz and Rise have never had this, again, this amount of pressure, this amount of tension as we are going into the final 3 rounds. Veno Agers are on this incredible story, this comeback for themselves. And look at this, Jacob. It seems like they have the drop to themselves for the time being. You have Contrap, I don't know what they're doing there. But for the most part, they got the main POI to themselves.
Yeah, which I want to see, honestly, is it actually a blessing or a curse? Because a lot of those fights, they were getting a good amount of damage. Even when they disengaged, they were getting a good amount of damage to kind of set them on course for the rest of their game. So let's see how it continues to play out, especially on this side with Moneymaker and Fnayan. 52 points so far on the day, and this is 12th and 13th place essentially here at Golden Grove. And the biggest difference maker, does Bugha and Braids even have an idea?
Yeah, I was going to say, Jacob, I don't know how I feel about Moneymaker and Fnayan trying to contest Bugha and Braids, but I like the idea. If you want the qual spot, why not take out your immediate competition? We were curious if whether or not Contrap and company, we're going to try to fight here. But look at this. Rise left by himself. Peterbot and Boyo have rotated towards them. Boyo finding Muzz here. This is going to be a very interesting turn of events right now.
On one side it is Veno and Agers basically kind of have them by the ropes on one side. Bugha and Braids still have to be careful here. Not sure where Moneymaker and Fnayan did actually end up at, but I don't see him on the minimap towards the south, so my biggest guess, probably somewhere still close by. I was going to say try to take advantage of the situation, but Golden Grove is just one of those spots where you don't necessarily see a lot of lurking unless a fight is already breaking out.
Well, let's see how it's going to end up playing out here. Rise as a solo. I love this. I actually really love this. This is sort of their normal strategy. Is like, yo, let's go make the big Surge Tower. You know, normally someone's hiding in the bush when they're by themselves. But he's like, nah, let me just get back to the true and trusty Surge tag farming. Now, if Peterbot and Boyo are really smart and they end up hunting for him and see the tower, they could determine if this is worth a solo push.
I know in the beginning you kind of mentioned, not sure what necessarily going to happen. Contrap and Darzi were going Golden Grove for the majority of this tournament. They switched it up. I asked the question of where Veno and Agers are going to get their early game damage from, and they instantly answer. But you're seeing a lot of these early game fights, and the reason why it's breaking out is typically we would wait until game 12, game 11, where teams try to make, you know, those big risky plays to try to rise up the leaderboard. But I feel like more and more, especially watching EU before this, they realize sometimes waiting till game 12 is just simply too late.
Yep. Well, here we have it. We're now looking at Kings and Craze, who pushed across onto Cirque and Cynics for a second there. On the other side, you have Fnayan, Moneymaker, setting up, once again, another ambush play. We've seen them actually successfully take out QK and Mirops. This time, we're doing it from a completely different angle. This is just madness. When they go back and watch this, they're going to be so confused as to how this team has managed to outlurk them everywhere.
I feel like sometimes their lurking is just literally in plain sight. Unfortunate for QK. Just thinks it's all uncontested. He gets taken down. Big shot from Fnayan as well onto Mirops. Gets him weak. and eventually leads to the elimination. So basically 400 damage right there, while Fanayan maybe took 64.
Big eliminations there. The 9 and Moneymaker just keeping us even more entertained than we should be, because it's already grand finals weekend. The games sell themselves, and then you just have these wild plays happening left and right. Meanwhile, Clicks and Rapid, pressure was on for Clicks and Rapid to perform, to try to find their way up towards the top. They managed to do just that. And look at this. I actually really like this setup right here. You start thinking about what Clicks and Rapid have to deal with. Well, it's their immediate competition. It's Booga, it's Braze, it's Moneymaker for 9. You could take them out. The gap between you and everyone else is 100 points. That's a whole game buffer, which means they could be 2 decent games away from a shoe-in qual spot.
Man, I just like the way they're pinpointing some of the players. They're not necessarily going after global qualified teams, like you're saying. The ones that are in the same hunt as they are. And they're turning the script right now, potentially on a Moneymaker and Fanayan, but they go off towards the right, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because now they're separated. Not necessarily a big amount of damage onto Fanayan, especially with Moneymaker shockwaving back up, trying to return back into the same box. This fight, Monster, has so many different implications going on into the rest of the day. Somebody will fall below and behind the curve, and you could see Clicks immediately still getting aggressive. He's fighting for a little bit of control because he doesn't want to let this opportunity slip through his fingers. And on the other side, Peterbot and Pollo, they're continuously trying to hunt down the first place team of Muzz and Rise.
Tournament implications after tournament implications. Peterbot, Pollo hunting down Rise. They've already gotten Muzz. Rise now down to 9 builds, barely anything else to work with. No shockwaves to disengage as Peterbot and Pollo are looking for him. Meanwhile, Rapid and Clicks just trying to fight their immediate tournament competition here and now. These are 2 different teams, 2 different things on the line, but one singular goal, and that is success.
Just trippy situation for Rise. Probably hasn't had his hands sweat this much in quite a long time. He can't even disengage because it'll give away too much audio. Pollo and Peterbot may not necessarily know exactly where he's at, but he knows he's in that mess of a building somewhere. So as long as they stay persistent in trying to find him, they will figure out where he's at. Getting the elimination might be a different story because we do have a second team also in the distance.
We say, what are the odds they just break the entire base of this build? Like, drop everything, because that is how committed Peterbot and Pollo are looking at the given time here. Then you have Dash and Noxy down low. Again, another bubble team that is looking for a qual spot. But Peterbot and Pollo are fighting for first right now. If they can take that Muzz and Rise, that runway starts to open up for them. Otherwise, they could just be letting this plane take off. See it though? No, Rise gets spotted out. What they thought was true is, and that means Rise is here. They find Muzz and Rise. 2 quick eliminations now. And what are Peterbot and Pollo going to do with this opportunity is the only opening question now.
Yeah, right there was the biggest obstacle to overcome. Muzz and Rise over second place, Monster, had a 58-point lead. Over Peterbot and Pollo, a 93-point lead. So just them going down here simply just isn't enough to overthrow a team like Muzz and Rise, especially considering, you know, everybody down below them on the leaderboard has had instances, not only today, but throughout the weekend, that mistakes can and will happen at certain points in time. So other teams still need to have that solid performance here, just like Acorn and Bolts. They have picked up the tempo here. They have been playing phenomenally well as a full duo as opposed to separate solo clutches. So again, this one, when it comes to the NAFNCS, has to be so exciting no matter who you're a fan of.
Or exhausting if you see your favorite teams get so close and they get pulled back into the water. That's what we're seeing with Muzz and Rise, who have now been parked on ice with their 60-point lead. A 60-point lead for y'all watching at home. If you've never really watched how close a tournament competition might be, it might feel like they're so far ahead, 514 points versus everyone else in the 400 range, but that is only a good game. A good game separates them. But with 3 games left, this and 2 more, it's going to be a super close competition now moving forwards.
Reed and Cooper trying to set up the rotation in the backside of Wonky Land. They almost look to cut back inside, but that's the same thing that kind of catches them out of position. Veno Agers doing a good amount of damage on Dorit. Not necessarily taking too much damage back as they continue to rotate out. And that's the thing, little victories. Veno and Agers, a little bit of damage here, a little bit of damage there, continuously stay above the damage threshold, but they still have to be careful. Aiden and Clixie on the outskirt of Wonky Land as well can disrupt everything they have going on.
Like this from Yamzo and Josh, as they're not trying to do anything risky here, playing this massive base. Yamzo at the bottom side to see if anyone ends up coming up and out, just to try to look and fish for some tags. And in the end, they are slowly creeping their way up, staying relatively consistent, and honestly starting to pull ahead, get closer as they get closer and closer to the top 5.
Yeah, not necessarily safe yet. They're inside of the bubble for that global championship spot. But again, 37 points is all team like Golden. I would say Golden and Ozone, but they already have it secured. So they actually have a decent gap over the competition. Outside of Clicks and Rapid, the next team they do have to worry about is Booga and Braids. See where the zone continues to pull towards the southeastern part of the map, over towards the Shaken Sanctuary. So again, coming into today, Curve and Higgs had the most distance traveled on the map by far, and I think that's going to continue to be the case here, all the way from Lifty Lodge. And you can see there's one of the few teams that cannot play into that heal-off win condition because of the amount of storm they're actually tanking.
Yeah, unless you get an incredible elim along the way, which refreshes you, it's so unlikely that they're able to do that towards the end game. Well, what was working for Breeds and Booga seemed to continue to be going that way. They still have a little bit of damage over the Surge line that they need. And then, of course, they're sitting on a multitude of extra heals here with the Mending Machine in sight. And the zone's kind of on their side, so this is a pretty favorable Game 10 for them.
Yeah, you can kind of see why. They were getting 4th place after 4th place after 4th place to start the day today. And honestly, this is something that we've seen Booga do, even qualifying for the last global championship. It came down to the last game, but it was consistency in the end that really kind of helped pull him through. As Clicks Rapid trying to get another elimination here. It's 20 caught out by himself. Chimp already out. So even though that's their 2nd elimination of the game, that's 8 points of straight eliminations alone.
Yeah, I was really curious as to why they would have taken that fight, but clearly they had a massive advantage. Clicks and Rapid had plenty of damage going into that. It's not like they needed any surge or had surge issues. That just surely sets them up even further away from having those problems. And then they pulled the zone, so now they're sitting on zone, max material, extra heals to work with. This is actually very good for Clicks and Rapid. Game 10 seems to be put in the bag.
Not only them, but Liam and Jace, Acorn Bolts, maybe Madden and Chance as well. And kind of they're on the edge of the zone, so they're going to be able to look towards the side and continue to kind of hurt anybody's chances as they make their way in. Ritual and Cold not too far away from Peterbot and Poyo. Not only in-game, but on the leaderboard as well. 3rd and 4th place, staring each other down before Webster and Cryptid make their appearance, gain the attention just a little bit. Any damage is better than no damage. Keep progressing in this game, but it's a far pool for everybody involved.
How incredible would it be if Peterbot and Boyo clash against 2nd and 3rd on the standings, you know? Either way, though, we won't get to see that here. Now we get to see Kayan be the first to fall here as they get the big elimination and the refresh there. That's Siphon, that's extra material, and plenty more to take for the road here. He thought twice about the chug, hoping that it was going to be full. Instead, they're going to use it.
Just see how they rotate on out, because everybody else already quick to the punch to go ahead and rotate to a better position. Veno and Agers as well. Kind of built their base on the line and kind of using that point of view as their advantage. Already getting some good damage onto one. Now looking over at Okus and Zonda, getting damage onto them as well. And the zone is hurting right now. 2 tick per, and it's going to quickly move into a 5. So they are literally on a less than 10-second clock to try to make their way in. And even when they finally do, they're still in the line of sight of Veno and Agers.
Good pressure coming out from them. Even now, Agers, Veno thinking about chopping down those builds there. I'm just going to go ahead and break that foundation out. There's no way this team dips back into the storm there either, so there they see them reinforce. Just continuing to give them something to think about.
Oh.
No, wait. Veno went into the storm with the side angle. Veno is the lurkiest player on the NA region at the moment. I don't care what anyone says. He just plays outside the box. This is why he's so successful.
This is why he's contending right now. He's a Major 1 champion coming back from a 100-point deficit. Bolts does go down, though. And you can see throughout the course of these last couple of zones, it's been Storm Surge that's been ailing Peterbot and Pollo again, eventually leading to Pollo's downfall. Even though they're above the damage threshold, you can see that the position that it put them in. Multiple teams from the backside of zone were shooting at Pollo. Now they're putting their focus onto Peterbot, just trying not to let ease up on any of this pressure. And if you look at the loadout, 1 shockwave, 1 smoke, Mini's left in the tank, so he's really down to almost nothing.
I was just saying, how ironic that Pollo just gives Bolts a bit of his own medicine. The man who normally destroys players as he likes to fly by gets taken out, but in the end, Pollo doesn't get to celebrate in the victory. Peterbot by himself. You've already saw the stats time and time again, showcasing how Pollo has been the one leading with solo clutch points, but Peterbot has now had his second opportunity here to show us that he can do it as well. First, though, has to kind of handle the fight here. Takes down Encrypted. It's going to be a very welcomed Siphon. There goes the first. Can he get the second? It's Acorn in the storm here.
And Acorn was able to get one of them as well. Siphon finally turning off, but keeping him relatively healthy. Peterbot's gonna go down. The Mythic Warforged again from Acorn. They made an effort. They took down Muzz and Rise, but eventually they fall, so all they did was open up the door for everybody else. Booga, Active Surge, Braid's already down 148 below the damage threshold, and by the time he's done healing here, he'll have no extra shields or HP to regain.
Well, if you're Muzz and you're Rise, you're thinking with Acorn and Bolts, or really just Acorn standing right now, if they fall early, this is perfect. That means the lead remains pretty heavily. It's not what we thought we were going to see, but it's what seems to be unfolding now. Booga trying to fight Victor V and Queasy there on the rotate. That's going to be a tough fight. 22 below, though. Great tags there to keep him alive, but no, the update comes through. He still has more to worry about, and he's already out of heals.
Yeah, just when it looked like he was going to get above that damage threshold, we move from the 6th to the 7th zone. He falls back down below. He is still landing shot after shot, and the blessing is it's not Active Surge just yet. One tick will take him down. He's only 36 below, but again, the active lobby is tossing, turning that threshold all around. This is his last moment right here. 44 above. He sees Queasy in his line of sight, and even he's running out of builds.
He thought about it. He almost caught Queasy there with the lurk play, and he's 44 above somehow, but no, he gets spotted out. It's by visuals there in the distance, and finally we see Queasy and Victor V make an endgame healthily, and just like that, they're the ones on top, so look out for that from them. Meanwhile, Curve and Batman Booga trying to make the comeback now from the low ground. They've had some difficult kind of stoppages happen, making it far into the games, but this seems to be the best we've seen them shaped up. Although, Batman Booga, actually, now that I look at it, he's only down to 4 builds. So, Jacob, they're going to be crashing in soon.
Yeah, they're going to need an elimination. No matter how they find it, they just know they need it. It's Cold and Ritual. They find at least one. A whole nother team. Multiple teams just trying to go ahead and burn through those materials. Get inside of the box. Victor V Queasy again on that high ground. Going into this game, Monster, 245 points for Victor V and Queasy. They need 100 points. A gap to close throughout these next 2 games. And being on high ground, this could be the position to do it in.
It's kind of crazy, though. Cole just fell when they had the chance to actually overtake first place in this game. Now they have to clutch up. You see Acorn earning points, by the way, still making the most of the opportunity he's been gifted. And then you have Yamzo, Josh, slowly, surely earning Elim after Elim. They're now at 4 in a top 19 and counting.
Still anybody's game as they're trying to control that whole low ground. You can kind of see it going up that hill just a little bit. It's not a large mountain, but it definitely requires just a little bit of planning. That's why you see proactivity coming from some of those duos, quickly shockwaving up to that elevation, not necessarily to the front side of the zone, but Ritual here, you're talking about a chance to take first place here along with Acorn. Reed still battling for a top 10 spot. Veno's trying to keep themselves attacked inside of the top 10. There is just so much going on in this end game.
Yeah, Reed and Cooper coming into this, we're in 17th place as well, but look at Veno go. He actually unfortunately shuts that dream down and takes down Reap. Meanwhile, high ground, visuals. He already took down Bugha. Now they're trying to dethrone Queasy and Victor V. This is Queasy and Victor V's chance to get back in the running here for a qualification spot.
That's visuals and threats trying to go ahead and make that play, take the high ground. It's one of the best ways to go ahead and jump up that leaderboard is put yourself in the driver's seat. Veno still lurking back. Decent amount of materials, which is building and opening up, giving himself some extra space. Queasy is down, but it's not without a fight. Victor V will not be denied. He gets back-to-back eliminations here. A huge 8-point jump by him, by himself, and he remains on top of the throne.
And that's how you get yourself into the top 10 as well. Meanwhile, look at all the solos still standing here. Victor finds another one as he takes down Josh, and then Ritual just trying to rat his way through the builds. Meanwhile, Veno looks up to high ground. He recognizes just a single player. He finds a shot. Victor's on 1 HP. Veno looks for him, loses up, but in the end, he gets the placement, and the damage goes through. And now it's all up to Veno, but Veno's out of material. He sees Ozone, and this is looking like a solo clash up here.
Yeah, big chunk of fall damage, but sometimes there's no other option. Down below, Sharkman and Yuz out of nowhere, getting that knock onto Fanayan. Revenge for earlier on in the tournament, but Moneymaker left by himself, shockwaving up. This is all solos left alive here. Top 4 situation. Moneymaker goes up and over that one into the house to try to buy himself time to get these heals off. Our final 4, and Sharkman is one of them.
Incredible effort, by the way, from Moneymaker to make it this far. But what more can you ask for from him? Sharkman and Yuz are trying to do it. Sharkman is the healthiest. Moneymaker takes down Ozone there for the Siphon. Gives him a little bit of builds to work with. He's got a shield as well. This can still go either way.
Moneymaker needs this to stay in contention. It's a huge pick-me-up game, but Sharkman with a little bit of advantage. 150 on the Chug, and it's not going to matter. Moneymaker and Fanayan from EU, they invest everything for one of those global championship spots, and with a win monster, they are getting closer and closer.
And they did that off the new drop spot. They landed near Bugha to try to just see what their competition was looking like. And they managed to pull a win from a completely new drop spot here. Zeke, game number 10 continues to keep us on our toes.
Oh, MDF, it keeps changing. Our top teams keep getting eliminated. This is going to be so close going into that final game. Wow. Massive props, Moneymaker as a solo. In a game full of solos in the final few moments. What's super interesting is we actually had a game earlier where they kind of like almost had the opportunity to get a victory royale. They ended up getting a second. Now to come back to get the victory royale. Like our caster said, they invested so much to come here, right? To try and make it through 2 globals through NA to see what this playground had to offer. Kelly, a victory royale in finals is still a victory royale. Sorry, EU. Our apologies, sir.
I mean, what a whiplash of performances we are seeing from Moneymaker and Fanayan. As soon as I feel like they have fallen off and NA is going to come out on top, that is when they shine the brightest. Literally, the last game that they played, they got 42nd place with 2 eliminations, going down really early. But they've changed up their game plan. They changed up where they're landing and instead went for more of this passive low ground play style, allowing them to kind of just make sure that they were alive, making sure where everyone else was. And then when it came down to the 1v1, Moneymaker, absolutely incredible play here to just patiently wait for Sharkman to make a misplay, this little edit into the elimination, and that is why they're going to be walking away with a victory royale.
Yep, well played for Moneymaker to go ahead and clutch that one up. I thought Sharkman had that one without a doubt, and you can kind of see the points that they were picking up there. Going to be crossing that 360-point mark. So obviously the big question will be for Moneymaker and Fanayan, who in day number 1 were consistently kind of in those qualification spots. Have they kind of returned back to that feat? I can't wait to see.
More on that because it's time to take a look at the leaderboard after this break. When we return, 2 games left to go. Get ready, Fortnite fam. Get ready. I just got off the phone with Levin 2K. I called him. I said, hey, man, listen, I know you saw it. Benign and Moneymaker got themselves a victory out in game number 10. How do you feel about that? He just laughed at me for several minutes. I eventually had to hang up because we had to come back onto the broadcast. So shout out to Levin, I guess.
Sounds like Levin.
Levin's probably like, dude, what? Moneymaker and Benign get themselves a victory out in game number 10. What's crazy, as we bring up this leaderboard, if you take a look at this, Vivid, can you maybe talk us through current placements right now? Because we see Moneymaker and F9 move up 3 placements into the top 10, but what's qualification, Vivid?
Yeah, so obviously we got a couple of our teams that are already qualified for the globals. I mean, we got Acorn Bolts up there. We got Peterbot and Polio up there. Golden and Ozone have kind of entered the top 10. Kingling and Craze have entered the top 10. So yeah, right now, global qualification is 10th place, 363 points after Moneymaker and F9 went ahead and picked up that victory royale. Now, I will give everybody at home a little bit of a sneak peek into 11th place is 356 points. That's actually Clicks and Rapid. So yeah, very, very close down there for the qualification spot. I mean, some of our teams now that kind of have to bounce back after that game. Obviously, Muzz and Rise kind of going down early and picking up 0 points gave the opportunity for Ritual and Cold to kind of close that gap once again. I mean, how many times have these guys kind of entered into this second place spot? I need to find out whether or not Ritual and Cold have actually been in first place at any point during this grand finals, even though they've been behind first place like 2 times by a single point, and now they are only behind by just 16 points. That being said, though, Kelly, listen, I would love for Ritual and Cold to go ahead and win this thing, but they got to earn it because so far today, they are just not playing like they were yesterday. I mean, their best game today was that one that just happened. They got 7th place with 3 eliminations, but outside of that, they haven't even broken into the top 10. So they've really got to find it here in the last 2 games.
It makes you wonder if it's necessarily what they're doing wrong or more so what everyone's doing differently from game number 1. Maybe they've reviewed. Maybe they actually looked towards Ritual and Cold to see what they were doing successfully. And we saw in that game, I believe it was actually Ritual that came down to a solo around zone 9. Unfortunately, he had no heals, so inevitably he was going to go down. But for the fact that they were able to solidify themselves in day number 1 so confidently is part of the reason why they are still in 2nd place. I mean, heck, they didn't do that well in that game, and they went up a placement spot, and that just goes to show how volatile our top leaderboard is. I mean, Peterbot and Pollo literally landed on Muzz and Rise and even got the eliminations down, I believe, onto Muzz there, and even they themselves went down on our leaderboard. So even with these plays, these minds going into these games, kind of trying to change things just a little bit, if you don't make the right play, everything is just going to go fall to shambles right now. We can just see how much our leaderboard is changing, Zeke. Anything can happen.
Just look at the left side of your screen, right? Look at the 1s going up, down. We've got a couple 2s moving up, 3s moving up, right? Like Kelly pointed out, we're now kind of like splitting hairs, right? Like a single decision could make or break a duo. We are 2 games left to go. And just think about the performances we saw out of just that last game. I'm thinking about like Venno, the solo clutch. He is moving on another level. Remember, he already won. He is your technical reigning champion from last major. And he comes in and he's pulling off stuff like solo clutches in the 11th hour of the tournament, fighting for these spots. I mean, Vivid, this is some prime Fortnite.
My gosh, you say how Aegis went down so fast right there? That was like blinking, you might have missed it. But yeah, Venno still kind of made this happen. But take a look at where he currently is on these highlights. I mean, he's like top 20 and he's forced to go ahead and break it down as a solo. His final placement in this game, he was able to pick up 5th place and 7 eliminations. So this was a big swing for them. And I gotta mention it, Kelly, because obviously Agers and Venno have come into this weekend very, very well prepared, kind of adapting to their situation that's happening all spawn. But even in game number 10 here, they are still finding ways to adapt and play just a little bit better. Because we saw in the early game, they actually left Latte pretty early on. They didn't actually take that fight at the POI itself, but instead kind of rotated out and picked off one of the teams that's kind of looting in the surrounding area. So they're still making plays happen that are different time and time again.
And for Venno to kind of identify that Victor V was a little weak there, being able to kind of go on the low ground, but also identify the high ground is weak and then steal it for himself when it kind of came down to just all solos in that moment. A very smart play for him, and that's part of the reason why he was able to get so many placement points on that. But of course, we got to talk about them. I mean, Iamzo and Josh right now, and I really do need to speak on Josh because this kid is just playing out of his mind right now.
So
and
true.
Iamzo, you got to feel like on his side of just playing commanding, making sure the IGL in these mid and late games is working so well for them. But when it comes to the eliminations, Josh is the one that's just leading the pack right now.
Yeah, been playing so well are these guys. Again, kind of the biggest talking point for them was given the opportunity to be uncontested this weekend after I think they were contested for the first 2 games of the tournament, but after which they have been uncontested. So 8 games to kind of work with in terms of being uncontested. It's netting them this 6th place. Game number 10, they kind of bounced back after games 8 and 9 weren't so good. On the 9th place and 8 eliminations, they were able to go ahead and pick up here. But yeah, Josh Iamzo currently sitting in 6th place, and we've already mentioned it, Zeke, right? Top 10 as it currently stands is that global championship qualification spot. So sitting in 6th place with about a 60-point lead over 10th place. They just got to go ahead and stay consistent in these last 2 games.
Oh, man, but that's the problem, right, Vivid? There is 2 games left to go. We've seen crazy lurk plays. We've seen players decide to land up on different spots. We've seen Peterbot and Poy decide I'm going to land Sinister and then immediately find Muzz and Rise. Anything can happen with 2 games left to go. And we can't forget solo clutch performances can impact these standings. Oh my gosh, guys. Fortnite fam, I'm getting word. I want to keep talking, but there is still so much more Fortnite to see with 2 games left to go. Let's start preparing ourselves for this competition. Casters, over to you.
Thank you, Zeke. Yeah, this is one of the most unpredictable NA championship runs we have ever seen here, Jacob.
Yeah, typically in a lobby like this, you have one team maybe lurking around, Peterbot and Poyo doing it, but now you have Peterbot and Poyo, you have Venno Agers, you have Moneymaker and Fortnite, everybody pulling out every single trick. They're like magicians pulling a rabbit out of a hat. At the end of this day, I'm not sure who I think can actually hoist that trophy.
Yeah, and even with Muzz and Rise falling there, they maintain their lead. But more importantly, you have a lot of teams in the running now. So let's see how it plays out here for game number 11.
Two games left and a stacked leaderboard. Hopefully everybody at home is enjoying this as much as we are. And you can kind of see right now the bus path all the way towards the north for the most part, east to west. So a lot of those teams on the south side of the map might have a slower time getting to their drop.
Agers, Venno completely uncontested now. They've managed to push back not only Chance's team there, but Contrap's team as well, who landed just a little too close for their liking as they ended up keying them. I'm thinking Venno and Agers, though, are going to have a lot to think about now, right? That early damage, those big points they were earning and kind of solidifying early on. What strategy do they have when they have the drop open for themselves?
Yeah, especially with no ability to get early Storm Surge, you're going to have to lurk for it. But Moneymaker, by himself, Dozier and Ishu actually disengage out of that fight. I'm not sure if they know Moneymaker's a solo. No, they didn't get the memo. Moneymaker by himself getting that first down onto Ishu. Fnayan definitely closing the distance now, realizing they at least got what they came for. That's going to be the first of what could be many eliminations here.
Tough spot for Dozier and Ishu to be in, especially after finally starting to get a couple of points put on the leaderboards. Now, Fnayan and Moneymaker continue to do what they do best, and that is just float around the map and earn points. Think about this. They're slowly inching their way deeper and deeper into the tournament standings, further solidifying a potential qualification spot. Right now, the qual gap between them is about 3 different teams because there's a lot of qualified teams in between them. And it gets to basically Clix's duo and Victor V, but that's about 40 points. So if Vic and Queasy have another massive game like they had before, they'll jump up into the conversation. But if not, you'll have teams like Clix possibly overjump into the standings as well.
And typically throughout the course of a tournament, you know what I'm saying, that's 12 games. Maybe you can have 3 bad games, 4 if you're lucky. Well, at this stage of the game, there's no more time for bad games. You have to go ahead and execute every opportunity here, and that's what Venno Agers are doing. Nobody's contesting their drop, so they're immediately in back-to-back games going on the hunt. Contrap, Darcy were that team in the last game, and for a moment there, it was looking like Aoxy and JoJo Fishy.
Like this from CDZ. Playing defense right now, but Peterbot and Boy are on the hunt here, trying to earn themselves some early points, but more importantly, that extra damage that they've had seemingly trouble with, right? Like, for the most part, we haven't really seen them too far in ahead on the damage threshold. They've kind of been middling as far as mid-game goes in their comfort with the first Storm Surge warnings. So these are some really great key eliminations here.
Yeah, especially for them to close the gap, and it's quite a gap for them to close. If they want first place, that is around 73 points for them to overcome. With that elimination, it is definitely going to be under 70, but still a long journey for them with 2 games left to do it. And it does look like now that they already got those eliminations on Dozier and Ishu, you already know Kyan and his duo just kind of lurking around up above. They may not know exactly where they're positioned, which exact box, which side of it, but they know they are around, and they don't want to let that opportunity because they have a looting advantage over Moneymaker and Fnayan.
It's funny how they just feel very comfortable and content with waiting things out regardless of the situation. Probably one of the more patient duos we've seen this weekend. Lix and Rapid sticking to the true and trusty strategy. Well, we saw them get those diminishing returns before, right? Trying to do those fast rotates to fight the teams nearby, and since then, they haven't really tried to flex that strategy again. Curious how this one's going to play out, because they will need to try to maintain that consistency, that pacing that they have set for themselves here today as they kind of fought their way back into the race. Meanwhile, Muzz and Rise probably on much more high alert here, right, Jacob?
Yeah, they definitely have to be. They're still the team to be in first place. Just because the gap closed doesn't mean, you know, anybody else is going to try to make a run for it. You know, Josh, Niamzo, Higgs, and Curve, who are a little bit further down that leaderboard and need them to have a relatively close to 0-point game if they want to take that first place spot. But we know just the implications, and when a leaderboard that is actually this stacked, sometimes you don't want to take the risk because you want to go ahead and qualify to globals.
Well, now we have Cold and Ritual really close to Acorn and Bolts, in between Iamzo and Joss, right next to Muzz and Rise. What is this dangerous triage unfolding here? This is kind of interesting, to say the least.
Still relatively early, so you know a lot of these teams will continue to rotate throughout the course of the game. But now that they're positioned here, rotating out, well, won't come without its own risk, whether you're shockwaving from distance or just trying to get the effect and run out. Acorn Bolts are there, but Muzz and Rise will definitely have that bird's eye view to see everything. Is Batman, Booga, and Higgs, a.k.a., I should say Higgs and Curve, coming off early from Lifty. Most of the games that we've seen throughout the weekend, they've stayed up there at Lifty Lodge. They have the extra med kits, they have the gold, they have the mending machine, but this is one of the first games that we've actually at least seen on stream that they are rotating early outside of where they normally do.
Yeah, I was looking at their positioning here, and I was thinking the same thing to myself, like, wait, this looks a lot different than any other positioning we've seen from them this early into the game. Seems like it's working out well. They've targeted Dash and Noxy here. Dash and Noxy, whom, by the way, if it wasn't for them falling early 2 games ago, they would be inside the top 10. They were starting to get really, really close. They're one of the few teams that are on the bubble as well. Can't count out anyone. It's for one good game away from really propelling teams into the race once again. Josh Iamzo on the other side, though. Just north of Sinister Strip.
You know, even though they're actually playing pretty good, decently consistent, you know, they'd have a victory royale with 11 eliminations. But outside of that, they haven't really had any phenomenal pop-off performances. Something, you know, you could tell your parents about after a good day. You know, 9th place, 14th, 28th, 15th, and then obviously that first place. I think the thing that's kind of keeping them in contention is their ability to get eliminations. And some of these teams are, you know, going to rely on consistent placements, picking up eliminations as they naturally come throughout the course of the game. And others, especially with the leaderboard this close, are going to make some attempts here to try to get 1 elimination here, 2 eliminations there, and try to add up those points over time.
That's right. The elims are definitely consistent, but you called it, the placing points far and few between. We'll just have to see them tighten that up here in these final 2 rounds to really remain in for their spot to globals. Meanwhile, all of these very, very legitimate teams that could be your next champions are just sitting still, kind of waiting this one out. This is where the tension starts to build in the mid game. Meanwhile, Veno and Agers, no strangers to the storm, of course. This time uncontested, though, right? So we haven't seen the warning just yet. We haven't really seen what kind of pressures they're going to have to deal with now that they're uncontested. But that's a completely different scenario than we've had from them all weekend long.
Gotta be careful if rotating through those porters. The amount of times I've seen people get sidelined, surprised, especially since you don't know what's lying on the other end. Clicks and Rapid, we join in them versus Curly and Tyler. It's gonna be a moment for Clicks and Rapid. It's relatively safely for the most part. Try to go ahead and maximize their surge. Not too many teams close by looking in the distance just yet. But as soon as they gain that attention, that's when the risk factor will definitely increase. But you can see Rapid, this tempo is slowing down, trying to peek through the cone, getting information, but it's Peterbot and Poyo just looking all around. They're probably the highest elevated on the map as of now, so they definitely have that bird's eye view.
Yeah, they can see all the action taking place all around them. Meanwhile, Veno, though, you said you got to be careful taking these porta potties. There was a team on the other side, go figure, just waiting to see what was going to go down. And that's unfortunate.
I would really expect, Veno to kind of assess the risk factor in a situation like that. That's a mistake I don't necessarily see someone of his caliber make very often. As you jump on board, Peterbot, Poyo, that 1 elimination, building the confidence here for this game. We know we saw Peterbot land a couple tags in the distance onto that Clicks Rapid fight against Curly and Tyler. So again, it's just all progression, but it's also the same reason why they did go down in 28th place. They had 5 eliminations, and you'd think they'd be well above Surge, but it's just taking too much damage in some of those fights. They were kind of down below the damage threshold and eventually put into a bad spot.
Aoxy, Jojo, Fishy recognizing the danger. They double back to Latte Landing, probably to check the reboot van. Definitely hit the mending machine on the way there. And they have all the information of who and where Agers is. And Agers has to be thinking, man, just can't get enough of this team. There's been a few times where they got the best of Aoxy and Jojo, but I'm trying to think to myself, what's in it for Aoxy and Jojo right now? They've gotten the damage, they got the initial elim. Yeah, they're just a long way from the call spot, so they're gonna need a really big game. We'll see if this is worth waiting around for. Agers clearly thinks it's definitely not worth the risk taking the fight, so he's already gone.
Yeah, especially since kind of the unpredictable factor of a team like Aoxy and Jojo Fish, you can expect them to rotate on out because you don't expect them to be there in the first place. My biggest hint was maybe they saw Veno go down the feed, knowing that they're uncontested. It's the safest place for them to venture back to. Either way, Moneymaker and Fernine, 2 eliminations off that off spawn. You can see they're trying to qualify for their first land since the 2023 Global Championship, another duo competition. So we're always talking about like longevity between a lot of teams and whether it's trios or duos. I almost got to imagine this has to be one of the longer standing duos that we do have in Fortnite.
Yeah, most definitely. And you got to respect a team that even if they have a rough year, they thug it out. They, you know what I'm saying? Get back to the grind and make drastic moves like moving to NA to take a qual spot away. And they're so close right now. So definitely commendable, respectable. And they're putting up the numbers. They've never looked better.
Just a quick peek. Muzz and Rise, a very good zone for them. This is very familiar, reminiscent of some of those zones earlier on. Even the Victory Royale that they did have, it's all working one way or another in that same factor. Havoc, Cat Awesomer on the side. You can kind of see they're both playing for that mending machine that Moneymaker and Fernine kind of have a little bit more priority over. So you almost got to wait for them to rotate on out unless you're ready to take that risk. But even if they do, it's not just these two teams here. You see towards the south about 3 teams there around Calamari trying to make their way in, and then one more towards the north. That's Skittles and Kai in there towards the north side of the map, a team that they've already fought once towards the Chop Shop in this game.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, for a second there, I was seeing how low their health was getting, but they're just really trying to maximize their time right now in the storm. Already starting to move. A lot of teams lurking nearby. You have a Vive there, another duo in the distance. Here we get to get another look at Clix and Rapid, who I believe we saw taking a bit of a scrappy fight, but didn't really go anywhere for them. Not really too much of a favorite of their material counts right there. Click's definitely looking a little light. The damage looking not too hot either. They put themselves in a pretty tough spot here at the bottom of the river. This could be a focal point for all the teams nearby.
Yeah, especially since those teams on the other side, they're a little bit more elevated. Maraps over there in the distance, Javi and Minished as well. And even though they're above the damage threshold here in this zone, if they don't get a single shot to connect, they will fall below in the next zone. So they got to be proactive. Acorn and Bolt's in that same type of pressure cooker, but they're 118 above. You know, they're looking for more and more of these opportunities. On the flip side, though, Agers does get Venno back, but you can see it was just a sacrifice. He's not going to return the favor. Rightfully so, he can't. This is going to go from a 2-tick zone to a 5-tick zone, and he is 200 below the damage threshold.
Already, so Agers got the pickup. Venno's now left to play by himself. You said it, they're way off the damage threshold needed. What's the play here? You have a couple of teams in a distance. Aoxy was just taken out by Cooper and Reed, so JoJo's solo there. So you can tell it's the same sort of teams, right? Clashing back and forth here. This is a tough spot to be in right now.
Yeah, the main thing right now isn't necessarily that there's not too many targets because you see them right in front. It's the shockwave, the lack of it that I'm really worried about. He's trying to make a last dash, but he doesn't get it. Like you're saying, the storm surge, all of it working against Venno and Agers in this game.
That 5-tick came through, the damage started flying down. Such a rough spot to be in. Clicks Rapid, though, find Tyler there with a massive elimination. Think about that. They were 80 damage above in position in one of the worst spots you could be in on that beach, but they moved quickly and find themselves now very much in the race here. Venno and Agers is down and out, though. That's going to put them in just a small, maybe, potentially questionable situation for the consistency qual spot. They do have quite the lead, though, right? Like, as far as where they're at right now, 465 is a good spot to be in, but we have seen stranger things happen.
Yeah, roughly at the beginning edge, around a 12 placement lead. Obviously 4 eliminations, so definitely could go out the window at a moment's notice, especially the way these games have been going. Ritual and Cold, 300 plus damage above the threshold. Again, another one of these teams, they position themselves on the edge. We've seen this do this already today so far, and they just look back and they just try to put shots on all these teams that are just in shambles, just trying to make their way in. There goes another elimination. You said this yourself. That's the thing that makes this team so dangerous, is they don't greed for any of that loot. They just take what they can get and just keep it moving.
Now I want to start getting these updates with the likes of Peterbot and Boyo. How are they looking for this end game? Things are starting to line up for them, but they're only 70 above. This is going to be a big, big problem, and they know it too. Remember, things turn off around the 40-player mark, so several teams have to fall from here till then. Victor V and Queasy, we've kind of forgotten about them as things sort of got quiet. We started putting our focus in other places, right? The teams that are in for the win, and then you have them slowly inching their way up. Muzz and Rise are alive and kicking right now. No points earned, though, Jacob, so they haven't quite started to take off just yet, but we know it's the end game where they strike best.
Especially since they're free and clear. They got their early game plan down packed. They got themselves a cushion for Surge. 12 players need to go down. Even Ritual and Cold, again, sticking to the backside of the zone. Just landing a massive amount of damage and eventually getting the knock onto Curve. He does land on the other side, so Higgs does have one opportunity to try and get that revive. They're over 500 damage above the threshold. You can see they have more than enough heals to get Curve up to tip-top shape, so they have definitely dodged one right there.
That's a crazy dodge, by the way, because they're only in 7th place. Remember, the qual is 8 and below. Such a close spot to be in, but the pickup is good, so we can't come out just yet. Meanwhile, Buzz gets the worst type of lobby focus you can hope for. It's from the high ground teams and the low. I was going to say, I'm not sure elevating is going to work here, but it does at the end. He makes the right decision. And now Surge is active, and he's actually below. This is so rough.
They're still looking off in their direction, probably seeing him peek, make a window, trying to get through. 7 seconds, 25 damage. 1 tick is all he could take, and right now it almost seems like he's admitting defeat, almost trying to not give up any of those points, and they actually go on over to Booga and Braids that get the last shot, leading to that elimination. Javi and Aminish. We saw it was Victor V and Queasy at one point. They're all the way on the low ground towards the other side of the zone, so as it now, it's Javi and Aminish that are looking to take the high ground.
Batman Booga, Curve still alive, Peterbot, Boyo still standing, Cold and Ritual still in this game as well. And the problem is now that Buzz and Rise's lead will surely change hands here. Taking a look at Peterbot and Boyo's situation, taking a look at Ritual's situation. They're about to shockwave their way into the new zone. They're already making rotates. High ground looking very much solidified. You saw, as people were looking up, it wasn't looking too good, but as we jump around, Cold actually falls stands at HQ.
Yeah, with first place down, second place down to a solo. That's where the point gap starts to open up. From second to third place, it's 20 points, and it continues to kind of spread even more down below that on the leaderboard for Javi and Aminish. It's not necessarily global, it's bragging rights, it's money, it's a chance to make a comeback of the ages, just like Ritual here. 16 points down to start this game, and now he's feeling the pressure all around the lobby. Gets stuck in the tree for a short second. He's risking too much exposure there, trying to use that shockwave to fly over instead of through.
Yeah, definitely like this right here. But they have to change layers. They have to play for a refresh. This is why they're forcing their way in. Boyo finds one. Someone's on his heels. It's actually Virgo. But he eases up the pressure, and Boyo gets away with being able to stay alive for a second there. And talk about teams that need to change layers. Ritual jumps down as well. You can see him just scrambling here as he's already lost Cold. Trying to work his way through. Barely any mats here. Just a couple heals. He's going to have to go ahead and do what he can with this, but so many different teams in this end game here. This is going to start to condense the points up at the top.
Yeah, with this being the last 2 games, all these little moments matter. Every point really does make the difference, especially for Acorn and Bold. Third place going into this game. They have a shot at first, just like any other. Peterbot and Boyo are trying to play for the high ground. They get overthrown once, but they replay it, return back up. Javi and Aminish are now on the back foot. Boyo is just running wild, but the spray is coming in from all directions. Finally, Peterbot shows up, alleviates that pressure, leads to the downfall of Aminish, but Boyo's also on the low ground as well.
He didn't see Javi. Javi was actually lurking in the storm there, but he misses the important shot, and he delivers the loot for Peterbot and Boyo. But now the low ground team start to take focus to them. Acorn, Bolt see what's going on here. Ozone and Golden as well are lurking nearby, and there's a lot of teams here looking to set themselves up for a new high ground take. Bolt, Acorn trying to get their feet back into race here. They're at 4 eliminations, and still, look at them peeking for high ground.
You even got everything going down for Clicks and Rapid. Global spots, first place spots, top 5. There's so much up for grabs here in this game alone, as now Acorn and Bolts have the high ground. Peterbot all by himself, still trying to find this elimination. He needs it on the craze to stay alive, and the siphon is just seconds too late. Peterbot will fall. We got Clicks and Rapid still up. Acorn and Bolt still up. Liam and Chase as well. Everybody else kind of full and intact with their teammate by their side.
The biggest mistake might be letting Clicks and Rapid actually get a little bit of HP. Curve here as a solo down to low ground will become the siphon for one. But no, Batman Booga is still in the game. He's moving, he's dancing, he knocks Clicks there, but Rapid gets the finish. Now, here comes the switch out for the meds, for the heals. This is the only thing that he actually can do here to try to stay in the game. Liam still alive in low ground, Acorn and Bolts up top. It's all gonna come down to actually how Rapid plays this out next.
Yeah, he's going to be the disruptor. If he attacks low, high ground's going to drop. If he goes up, low ground's going to try to make a play. There goes the first down. Bolts actually takes down Liam. Back to back from Bolts right now. trying to save it, but Rapid is still healing off outside of the zone. It is gonna be a 1v1, but as soon as that med kit stops, it is over. Bolts and Acorn, game 11, when it matters most, come out with a victory royale.
And not only that, they are definitely jumping their way towards that first place spot. Talk about taking advantage and staying consistent there, Zeke. Game 11 is now over.
Fortnite fam, I need you to just track with me here for a moment. We're watching this game, and we're all just like, this is the craziest game we've ever seen. And then Vivid quietly, under his breath, just goes, Acorn Bolt's gonna win this game. Watch. I was like, what did he say? Like, there's no way. Vivid's being Vivid again. They win the game! They win the game! Acorn and Bolts get a victory royale in a situation, man. In a situation where Muzz and Rise were eliminated early. Viv, we're about to go into this last game. And this is going to be the closest race I think we've ever seen.
Acorn and Bullets, listen, we kind of mentioned it coming into the day. Yes, they have been playing so consistent, but the one thing that they were missing on the leaderboard was a victory royale. And in game 11, they finally go ahead and secure their win. And you gotta imagine with how close the contention has been in the top 3, with Acorn and Bolts constantly finding themselves up there, finally getting this win, finally getting the surgence of points is going to probably surge them up into first place. And yeah, sure enough, Kelly, we are going to be set up for a game 12 NA masterclass, but it was just perfection from Acorn and Bolts. I mean, high ground for what feels like the first time out of these guys.
We watched all day yesterday and then pretty much all day today where we would see Acorn and Bolts make it to the end game time and time again. But once we got down to the final 5 or 6 teams, they were usually a solo and then eventually they would go down. But this was the game of duos. We had 4 duos alive in the final moments, which I think is the most that we've had as far as full duos in a final end game go. And of course, that is when Acorn and Bolts shine the best, being able to control high ground. And yes, it did eventually come down to a 1v1. But Bolts is able to pull that out on top once again. Big shout outs to Acorn and Bolts. Better late than never for the victory royale.
Guys, I've just looked at the leaderboard.
Yep.
Of course.
I've just looked at the leaderboard. You are not going to believe this. Let's go ahead, bring up those leaderboards. After this break, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I know. Listen, we got to go to this break. It's fine. You need to come back, though. Okay, this last game is gonna be crazy. We'll see you in just 3 minutes, okay? Just hang tight. Fortnite fam, welcome back to the FNCS. This is a perfect time to be watching some Fortnite, okay? We're going into the final game of Major number 2, okay? We're fighting for Acts of Champions. You come out in first place. Prize money if you trade places and start to move up the leaderboard. The higher you move, the higher more money you make. We're also looking for one of 6 spots going to the Global Championship, which we knew going into that was basically if you could be in the top 10, because we already have previously qualified duos in the top 10. So right now, Clicks and Rapid are holding on to the one of those spots, essentially the 6th and final spot of placement. Kelly, and then I look at the top 4, and all of these teams could very well in this final game look to fight for the number 1 spot.
Oh, well, Zeke, if you say number 1 spot, then I'm a little biased to talk about Peterbot and Poyo. You know, they yesterday ended the day off in the first spot, and I think a lot of us were expecting for them to continue that snowball today, but a few hitches in their plan, maybe a few early eliminations. However, in this game, we finally start to see them pick things back up, start to show that they are here to win. They've already qualified. They don't need to worry about the global championships, but it is Peterbot and Poyo. If anyone is fighting for first place, if anyone is ignoring the qualification spots, ignoring the money, it is this duo right here.
The crazy thing about Peterbot and Poyo's performance so far across these 11 games, and this is going to be crazy to say, I can't believe I'm about to say it, they have yet to get a double-digit elimination game. Yeah, they don't even have a single game with 10+ eliminations. They're like synonymous for that, and so far it has not happened. What better way for Peterbot and Poyo to make a comeback here, down an incredible amount of points, to finally pull out one of those games? Keep a close eye on those guys. But for some of our other contenders towards the top of the leaderboard, like Ritual and Cold, obviously they are a lot closer to that number 1 spot, as they have been throughout the entirety of this competition. I kind of called for it going into game number 11. We still have yet to see what feels like a good Ritual and Cold-esque game for them here in day number 2. I mean, their best placement has been 7th place here of day number 2. They really need to break into at least that top 5 to give Acorn and Bolts a run for their money.
We saw yesterday at the end of the day, they got 2 back-to-back second places. We know that they have this in them. And again, you're talking about, well, what a beautiful moment for Peterbot and Poyo to get the final win, but also for Cold and Ritual to finally get a victory royale. Zeke, there's too many storylines. There's too many players that we need to talk about right now. We have so many players that are on the edge of qualification that have already made it into the global championships. Kingling and Golden now being in 8th and 9th place just adds so many more question marks. And because Clicks and Rapid are in 10th, they're in the bubble, but Shadow and Virgo are on the 11th place, who have already qualified. So now it's literally up to Moneymaker and F9 or Victor V and Queasy. It's literally up to EU to stop Clicks and Rapid from going to the global championships. What is happening?
Why does it always happen like this, guys? Why does it?
I mean, NA.
That's NA, right?
NA, man. NA. Yeah, they're just so good. But this is great for Clicks and Rapid. I mean, we kind of came into these grand finals. We kept talking about how Clicks is feeling confident. And listen, day number 1, without a doubt, was rough for these guys. But they have figured something out here in day number 2. I want everybody to kind of remember this number, 440 points. I mean, listen, Clicks and Rapid, right now, as it currently stands, they are in that global qualification range. But take a look at these standings, because if you look up just a couple of placements on the leaderboard, like, let's go ahead and shoot for 5th here, right? Higgs and Curve, 47 points actually separate 10th and 5th place right now. Now, obviously, Clicks and Rapid, on their mind right now is qualifying the globals, but they could really prove something here in this grand finals. I do want to go ahead and mention that page number 2 that Kelly was kind of talking about, so that way we can kind of get a visual on this, because 440 points, right? That is kind of that qualification range. Take a look at it. Kelly mentioned it. Shadow and Virgo already qualified to globals, right? They can't technically knock anybody out, but Moneymaker and F9 looking for that spot. Victor V and Queasy looking for that spot. But then we look at Reet and Cooper. I mean, they're so far behind. Boog and Braids, they're so far behind. I think those guys are just too far away from that 440 point threshold. So the question is, guys, Victor V and Queasy, Moneymaker and F9, can they have a game that is good enough to break that 440 point threshold, assuming that Clicks and Rapid are just going to get 0 points, which you could probably guarantee is not going to happen?
This is so crazy. This is absolutely insane on NA right now. We are about to enter the final game. Fortnite fam, follow along. Like Vivid said, 440 is that, bro. Just keep thinking about that number. Time you tune into Clicks and Rapid, think about that number. Anytime you see someone like be eliminated and have to solo clutch, they're fighting for their lives. This is it. If someone goes down, they cannot get any more points. The last time in Major number 2. Casters, over to you.
This is truly it, Monster. The last go around, the last game of the day, and the last hope anybody has to either win the tournament, qualify for the global championship, or just win a buttload of that money.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of everything as well along the way, but right now I'm looking at the qualification requirements to globals. Clicks and Rapid are holding that thin line, and then the race for top. I mean, we are surely in for a treat here soon.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm looking at Moneymaker and Fortnite. These are the guys that have been lurking around so many different POIs. They've been getting key eliminations, keeping them in the race. With the last game of the day ready, Moneymaker and Fortnite, what do you got?
Well, Game 12 is here. What a grand finals weekend it has been. Looking at how things have played out, if you are Moneymaker and Fortnite, you're thinking about the commitment you have made to travel to NA. How much does qualifying to globals means to you? If it's everything you're here to do, well, you have to contest Clicks and Rapid, because if they get any further away from you, it's going to be mathematically impossible for you to close that gap. So that is the question. Then on the other side, you have, of course, the race for first place. Acorn and Bolts have put the biggest target on their back, as they are now at 570 and in the lead.
Just a huge gap to overcome, but no, Moneymaker for Nyan. They're not necessarily landed on Clicks and Rapid. Same strategy that they had in that last game over towards Golden Grove. They didn't necessarily lurk over to take the fight. They went elsewhere, kind of what they're doing now, but they have way more attention in this game that they did have in that last one. Booga and Braids trying to push them away from Golden Grove.
Yeah, I like that play from Booga and Braids. Obviously, there's a lot riding on the lines for them, but now Quick and Avari, you know, they've kind of had their own little bits of back and forth with Fortnite and Moneymaker. Fortnite and Moneymaker getting a little piece of their own medicine there. Unfortunately, now getting collapsed on between the two teams, and everyone knows exactly what duo that was. Booga Braids happy with their initial loadout and the spoils of war that they earned from this, and they're actually going to keep pushing.
I mean, we ever talking about, you know, it's just much harder, improbable for it happening, but Booga and Braids, it's going to need a miracle, maybe even 2, but maybe the 20, 30 eliminations, one of those crash out games that we do see. Right now, they already have 2 eliminations here and a couple more teams in the distance that they continue this streak on.
Well, this is really interesting. If they start off hot like that and can pick up about 6 or so eliminations, you know, we were trying to think about what would it take. You need to effectively win the game and just ball out on the lobby. It's a very difficult thing to do, but we have seen it.
Over 20 eliminations. I don't know the exact number, but I just did a little bit of quick math. Over 20 eliminations with a victory for Booga and Braids. It's definitely possible, but it's not just Moneymaker and Fortnite that they have to take down. It's Clicks and Rapid. It's Josh Iyamzo. It's those players above them inside of that bubble that also need a spot. He actually picks up another elimination onto Alongo. Braids does go down, so they're actually going to go for a double res on either side. But again, they're just keeping the train rolling. They're giving themselves a chance. It might be a hard one, but they are up for the fight.
At the end of the day, this is what I can respect. This is what I think the entire community can most definitely respect. You put it all on the line and you play for that win. Take a look at this. Peterbot, though, of course, King, whatever he can down right now. This is going to be gunning down Webster here. Very nice pickup for him. Good set of eliminations. Webster already did the farm for him. And, of course, the extra damage as well. The new team's pushing in. It's actually Curly's duo.
Curly's doing a good job pushing Peterbot back, taking away those piece control, forcing him into a whole nother box, expending a lot of their materials. They expected to jump on one team, but I'm not sure how crowded they expected this to actually be, because there's another player up towards the north that's staring down, maybe even trying to get damage. Curly directly knocking on the wall. Encrypted is there as well. That's Webster's duo still up in this game for the two initially fighting it out. Tyler gets third party just a little bit, but it's not slowing him down because he's landing an immense amount of damage onto Pete.
Yeah, Peterbot recognizing this is a really tough fight to take. He's probably second guessing what duo this is as well. Don't forget, you obviously have the likes of Acorn and Cold and everyone else that lands not too far off. They tend to kind of get and rotate in position near each other, but no information downloaded just yet. This is just, again, a battle. And a real scrappy one at that. Curly and Tyler put up a really good defense.
And it's not just encrypted in the distance. It's playing for Webster. It's Nut and CDZ on the top side of that mountain. Probably watching the feed, waiting for one of these guys to fall. Booga gets another elimination onto Quick as well, keeping it going on the Golden Grove side of the map. But Pollo, any open space, the shots from Tyler and Curly are connecting, but there goes a big shot to kind of slow down the roll that Curly has been on so far in this fight, but no extra HP heals. Peterbot has just gone down. Game 12, the pressure is on Pollo yet again. Shockwaving to try to create distance, but that one's not going to work, and in comes that third party. Oh no is right. CDZ and Nut are the ones to take down Pollo and eventually lead to them getting sent back to the lobby.
That's the first time we've seen Peterbot and Pollo fall in a final game when they're on the hunt for a first place run, and who knows how long, to be honest, or ever for that matter. But either way, I like what was going on there. I like the idea they needed to close the gap with eliminations the same way you see other teams looking to push it right now. However, Tyler and Curly, where was this all tournament long? They have dug in deep, and they're in the trenches right now playing very well.
And even now the third party is on the back foot. Nuts already down. CDZ just trying to survive, and he meets that same fate. Tyler and Curly, a couple quick eliminations here to rise up that leaderboard, just trying to get into the next money pocket threshold, just trying to increase their earnings for this tournament. But again, the struggles. Not sure how Rapid went down, but Clicks is literally by himself, and he is that line.
This is really bad. This is even worse for Moneymaker and Phenom, because they were so close to Clicks and Rapid. Like, all they had to do is genuinely outperform them and then outplace them by a decent margin, and will Rapid down. Contrap and Darcy have actually singled out Clicks. They know he's here. Clicks has to play very well. How badly does he want it? We know he's got a big gap between him and everyone else, but again, you don't want to give Victor V and Queasy the runway, because if you do, they might run away with it. Pressure's on Clicks.
Queasy and Victor V are not even necessarily the target or anybody's radar. This is a huge moment here for Clicks, essentially playing for a global championship spot in this fight. In a 1v2, there is a whole nother team just to the right of them at a vending machine. Maybe Clicks is hoping somebody else hears that and looks to crash the party, but as of now, you can see he's burning through every single resource that he has. Material being dwindled down. He does have some extra bigs, but he hasn't taken too much damage to dig that deep into his resources, and it's Boji and Alongo, the ones on the other side.
I was going to say, he also hasn't given damage either, so because you haven't given the damage, that team's not going to respect you enough to back off just yet. Instead, they're taking shots, trying to fish through the builds, weakening them so they can get visuals to look through. Clicks just has to kind of wait this one out. Darcy, Contrap keeping their HP up. The fact that they're using Chug Jugs is telling us that they're probably looking to stick around for quite a while.
There goes. They're trying to burst into the box. 2v1. This is where they're trying to use their numbers, but it doesn't necessarily work for them. Big shot from Clicks, slowing them down. Now Alongo and Boji have heard enough noise. They're making their way on over, and this could be the miracle he's looking for. He's been using this Chug Jug the entire time to keep himself topped off, so one shot or a move like this doesn't take him down, and he is like water flowing through these builds to stay alive. Misses that first shot, but he is doing so much here to keep him and Rapid in contention. That first down is going to be the biggest one, trying to alleviate some of that pressure. Contrap drops right back on down, and Clicks is missing a couple shots here, but he is still keeping ahead in this fight.
He's playing well right now. 4 points. A new team comes in. They take the little bit there. He does get a couple extra maps. Can he scramble out of the box here? I'm not sure if he's going to be able to survive. But another duo comes crashing in. He actually gets bailed out. Clix might be able to go just a little bit further here.
Yeah, he tries to stop the heals. He doesn't want to give up too much information here. Curly and Tyler, they don't know, but they have just rescued Clix here out from the depths of potentially going down. And since Bochi is still here moving around, they can't even shift their focus on over to see how many players are still here. And he's going to use that, Monster. He's going to use this as a moment to finally disengage. But without too many white heals, he is on a clock.
And remember, he's earned a couple more points. So for anyone who's trying to push onto the heels of Clix and Rapid, these points are the worst case scenario for you. And now Clix gets to sit in the distance. He still has that med kit. He's got a little bit more to work with, and he can comfortably rotate here. What a turn of events there, Jacob.
Wow. That's all I can really say after watching all that shakeout is wow. This is some of the best Fortnite we have seen Clix play in such a long time. Don't let the position on the leaderboard fool you, because he right now is the sole reason why they are still in this game. As we see Veno Agers much higher up on that leaderboard in a much more comfortable spot for sure, but don't like what they're seeing here out of Reet and Cooper. They could potentially try to take this fight, but if they go down, it was almost all for nothing because they are literally right there, 18 points away from the next placement.
18 points away. Cold and Ritual just 30 from Muzz and Rise. Taking a look at what's happening right here. Zone's pulling to the top left of the map here. It's the first time in a while we've seen one actually draw this far up. It's gonna be pretty interesting.
Kind of see how everybody, there's a couple teams outside of the zone. Most of the teams that you see at Cluster Coast, that little arrow down below on the side, that's Clix trying to survive down there. Only one arrow, so Rapid is not up just yet, but you can see the journey they have in front of them. Cluster, Shaken, Sinister, Frosted, and then they reach the zone of the Battlewoods.
Yeah, look at how much of a long way he's got to go, but he is still very much motivated and in this game. And hey, at the end of the day, with how fast the lobby has continued to cut its way out, for all we know, he might steal away some cheeky placement points before we even get there, but we'll just have to see. Veno and Agers still fighting to close the gap here. No elims just yet. That's going to be the first one on to Cooper. Reet shortly after. They finish the job, and Reet and Cooper's run to the finals is now over. Just like that, Agers and Veno secure 8 points.
That's a team. This isn't the first time they face each other throughout this tournament. And even with this one kind of being over, Reet and Cooper, Game 12 sent back to the lobby, I can assure you, Monster, this is the last time we're going to see these two teams face off in an FNCS tournament. Particularly with maybe something on the line. As we see towards the Battlewood, closer towards the zone, Bolts and Acorn, our first place team with a little bit of a cushion. They managed to rotate very, very quickly away from Frosted Flats and trying to get one of those priority positions where they're near one of the buildings, elevated up so they can't get snuck down low towards the bottom.
Must be nice having a nice little lead coming into the game, pulling the zones, getting the early rotates. Like Bolts and Acorn are just doing it right now. And how many wins is this for Acorn at this point? He is starting to really rack them up.
Definitely one of the better IGLs that we have in the history of Fortnite. He had a streak of winning major ones. That one, once again, got stopped here. But we can go ahead and make up for it with a major 2 victory, especially for Bolts coming on over from NA West. Before Central became one region, Bolts won the last FNCS on West, came over, had multiple top placings like we saw on day 1 with Kelly, Vivid, and Zeke breaking it down. Bolts is just that guy. You pair him with one of the greats, these are the results you will see. Muzz and Rise looking good. You can kind of see a decent amount of our players at the top side of the leaderboard have no real contention at this side of the game.
Well, here's our next team that's looking to claw their way to globals. Queasy and Victor V, they have the damage, but they I think they will need a win. I think they will also need over 10 elims, and more importantly, they will have to stomp out Josh, Yamzo, or Clicks and Rapid, and that is no easy task right now.
I will say, though, the blessings are in their favor. You see where the zone is at? Not too far away from their actual POI. They're 300 above the damage threshold. So while Storm Surge pops, other players going to probably trade off shots in the distance, get close quarters, box-to-box type fights. They have created themselves a distance away from everybody else and potential danger. So it shouldn't necessarily be a problem, or at least not for now. We'll see where the zone continues to flow. And again, Monster, it's working in Queasy and Victor V's favor as we move towards the north.
Wait, did we ever get that update with Clicks? Did he actually make it? I don't even know at this point. Because remember, he is the line as well. Last we saw him, he was deep in the storm trying to rotate. On the other side, though, look at Bolts and Acorn making these very fast rotates. They are wasting no time. They're putting everything on the line, using these shockwaves early, make it to the half in, half out. Meanwhile, Muzz and Rise are down. The championship run has come to a close. And we wanted to see them do well. They came so close there, Jacob. But in the end, third place is where they sit now.
Yep, gotta be happy that you kind of essentially qualified for the global championship. Oh, yeah. But, you know, you're so close to the win. It all depends on how you look at it. And we know how these competitors are. If they're not first, they're last, or at least that's what they have in their minds. But maybe tomorrow they'll begin to celebrate. Clicks does get Rapid. This is the update you were looking for. I know he had the reboot off, but I was questioning the material. I was questioning the loadout. I don't know where this key leads, but I'm sure it is long gone behind him because he was carrying that when he was at the Sanctuary.
Hey, he's got it, though. It's in his pocket. That's all that matters. Hopefully it brings him a little bit of luck right now. Well, 27. As far as the remaining duos in the game, 26 now. Placement points are going to start being given out here shortly. Yamzo, Josh still cooking here on the low ground. For Yamzo and Josh at this point, it's a fight for the dollar signs as they're earning their weight closer and closer through. Globals is only getting more and more interesting as you start looking at who is going to be earning their qual spots now.
Trying to go ahead and get that next money placement. Every placement, as you were saying, even alluding to, is just more and more money. They're past the pockets and into the individuals as Cold Ritual. They're not just fighting for money, still fighting for that first place spot. I see a lot shaking out across in the distance, and they're just trying to disrupt it just a little bit, enough so they can continue to progress with their surge. And you're kind of seeing the check-in from multiple teams around the lobby. Clicks and Rapid still looking strong, and now we've reached the meat and the potatoes, which is those placement points. They've gotten 2 so far, which isn't many, but the longer Clicks and Rapid stay in this game, the more chances of it becoming mathematically impossible for anybody else.
Yeah, that's right. I did see Victor and Queasy still rotating through. Remember, they need a win at this point, and they are playing for the high ground. But if Clicks and Rapid are still standing, that win condition is out of the window. Curve, Batman, Booga trying to fight for a top 3 spot. Can they overtake Peterbot and Muzz's position? For Ritual and Cold, it's a race to maintain first place here and win this entire tournament.
Nobody said it was going to be smooth sailing. 50 below the damage threshold, gets worse, falls to 67, but they're not necessarily losing focus. They know what it feels like to be below surge, the back of zone, so they're trying to take it one step at a time, get towards the front, open up that window, and look back, and that's how they're going to try to get those numbers. Victor V and Queasy up above. It's just something they're not going to have to deal with here. 6 players need to go down. Storm Surge will turn off, but they're immediately targeting Taki out from the outside. He's taking storm damage and eventually damage from Vic.
This is what they need. Clicks falls on the rotate. 24, 41 below. Couple players still have to fall here. Rapid needs to jump in. He gets Tyler. 4 more points for Rapid and Clicks, keeping the tournament dream alive. 55 above now. That's going to alleviate a little bit of pressure. Rapid gets to clutch this one out by himself now. A little bit of lobby focus, though, as he's in the ultimate low ground. But look at high ground. Position up. Victor and Queasy need to start finding eliminations before the lobby thins itself out.
Yeah, that's going to be the most important thing, because win is not going to be enough. Because Bolts, Acorn, they find themselves their first elimination of this game. 4 more points there as Rapid and Clicks go down. 23rd place. All eyes on Queasy and Victor V. They are the ones that are next up.
They're the ones that could potentially qual if they can win the game and pull through. But first, you gotta get through all the other teams. Veno, Ager still standing now. Take a look at who's alive. You see Ritual and Cold here, finding their first elimination. Finally, they're also starting to close the gap. But if you want the championship run, you're needing to do more. And Cold and Ritual are starting to do it.
They find another elimination, taking apart Golden and Ozone. The materials, even though it might be few, it's plenty for them in this situation. But I might have spoke too soon. They bleed through the builds. Ritual goes down. Cold thinks about the decision for the revive, but more spray comes their way. He has to abandon ship. And now if he wants to win this FNCS, it's going to be as a solo.
That was to the hands of Curve there. Meanwhile, a fight for high ground. Batman Booga, Curve coming through. Higgs and Curve want to do it. They're putting it all on the line. Barely any mats to work with. Bolt's holding on here. Bolt is also a solo. That means that the points are going to get even more condensed now. But Cold is still in this. Does Cold want it more than Bolt? Can he outperform him here and now and overtake him by 30+ points? Who's going to be the first to fall? Who's going to be one step closer to winning the championship? First though, Bolt with a monster shot there. Gets the knock shortly afterwards. Jacob, this is close.
Yeah, Bolts goes down outside of the top 10. Cold can still win this. Placement points alone without getting another elimination, but you can see the struggle he's going through. Even Bolts on the other side has to figure out a way down, but Cold is going to get eliminated, and that is going to be it. Bolts and Acorn are your FNCS Major 2 champions. Even with 0 builds left, you can see he wants to win this game because winning is not enough. He wants to be the best in the world, and there goes a big elimination onto Vert. He is not done just yet.
Way to put the icing on the cake. Bolts really flexing what he is capable of. The adrenaline's running, another knock for good measure. And just like that, the highlight reel starts to rack up. Meanwhile, Veno, Ager's fighting for more placement points, more eliminations, more points for the money and the dollar signs here at the end of the day. Ager's playing the tree. He's got plenty to work with. What a tournament so far it has been.
No, it definitely has. And for Veno and Agers, they can overtake Higgs and Curve. They can overtake Peterbot and Poyo. They can maybe overtake Muzz and Rise. So they're still fighting for a potential top 3 spot here in the finals. BMJ from the backside, out of Chug. Chug has to go forward. Good amount of damage onto Veno, trying to cut their momentum short. But Agers trying to save the day. He gets the elimination, bringing it down to our final 2v2 situation. Marops and QK are going to be the ones down below. They're trying to strike, not give them time to heal. There goes the first knock, so it's all up to Agers. There's a 9-point difference just for the win, and it's not going to go their way. Marops and QK out of nowhere win the last game of the day.
Nice job for them to go ahead and just pad the stats and finish off their tournament well. But at the end of the day, Jacob, it was a fight for first place there. And it looks like we have our champions. Congratulations there to everyone that competed. Zeke, that's going to be it from us.
Jacob, PR, MDF, fantastic set of games, fantastic cast. Oh my gosh. Of course, Kelly, of course, this comes down to a solo clutch of Cold versus a solo clutch of Bolts. And of course, Fortnite is and does what it does. Acorn and Bolts, though, coming out on top. I can't believe it. And as our casters called out, Bolts going for those moments, making sure he is trying to prove he is the best in the world. Congratulations, Acorn and Bolts, your Major 2 champions.
We saw in day number 1 just how consistent they were, getting an average placement of 7 over the whole 6 games we saw from day number 1, but they never placed above 5th place. And then as we started day number 2, Acorn and Bolts looked like they started a little slow, not necessarily bad, but of course it was the penultimate game where they grabbed their victory royale and 7 eliminations, and that really is where things just took off. We knew as soon as all these other top teams were starting to go down and we saw the solo clutch coming out of our big players that this was our Major 2 winners right here. Huge shout outs to Bolts and Acorn. Was it really a doubt in anyone's mind, Vivid?
Definitely were some doubts out there. I mean, not a lot of people were kind of throwing Acorn and Bolts into the conversation. Of course, we had some of the favorites like Peterbot and Playo up there to go ahead and win this FNCS. But yeah, you mentioned it, the consistency from Acorn and Bolts on the back foot of all of the clutches, all of the solo clutch points that they were able to pick up as a team. I mean, we entered game number 12 and Acorn and Bolts were already on the number upwards of 140 solo clutch points, making up a large portion of the total 617 that they were able to pick up over the course of 12 games. And Acorn and Bolts, man, I mean, for Acorn himself, of course, gotta be solidified now as, if not the greatest, one of the greatest IGLs in the game, and do it alongside Bolts. I mean, these guys, they gotta be ecstatic.
We got to turn attention to these leaderboards. All right, we can't forget, obviously, congratulations to them. Want to give them the props, the flowers that they deserve. But we can't forget, we also have 6 spots going to the global championship. Yeah. We saw Clix and Rapid in that game go to a crazy situation where Clix had to solo clutch and then fight to reboot Rapid, who then has to solo clutch a little bit further on. Vivid, I'm blown away. Today's games were phenomenal.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Clix obviously here in game number 12. I think when everything was all said and done, because we saw Queasy and Victor V and Moneymaker and F9 kind of go down early in this game, Clix staying alive here would not have ended up mattering on the leaderboard. But I mean, just the mechanical prowess that he was able to bring out. I mean, we were watching this live and I was like, looking at the edits that Clix was hitting. Not only was he hitting like hard edits, like some of the ramp flips and everything like that, but he just like didn't miss an edit, right? So when the pressure was on, when he started to feel that his global qualification was potentially slipping away, he did not falter. And listen, Clix and Rapid, they're going to walk away with 12th place in this FNCS, but they were so close to placing so much higher. And I mean, Kelly, they got to be proud about this one.
I mean, Vivid, you say that that game didn't necessarily matter to the leaderboard because of how everything went, but I think that meant so much to Clix and his community. We saw how day one ended. We saw kind of the emotions that was impacting Clix, and we have known for years now how emotional a player like Clix can be and how that can affect his games. So to see him be able to recover for day number 2, and then in the final game where literally it all matters to what he does, how he is able to not only handle being contested, but also triple part or third partied and then fourth partied. Everything could have gone wrong in that situation, and he handled that so well. And I think that matters so much more than earning more money, earning more points, getting a first place. Clix proving himself that he is deserved of getting into the global championships means everything.
Yep. Without a doubt. I mean, see, listen, I feel like we also have to throw our flowers over to Veno and Agers. A 3rd place when contested by 2 other teams at a POI for more than half of the competition. And then to kind of not only consistently win that off-spawn situation, but then towards the later half of this competition, to basically push both of those teams out of that POI. That's how badly you were kind of dominating them. And then on the back foot of that, to finish 3rd place and only be behind 2nd place by 23 points. And then even further than that, 40, 50 points behind 1st place. I mean, Agers and Veno, one game going their way just a little bit more, and they could have actually went ahead and won this. I think this is one of the most impressive performances out of modern day Fortnite. Being double contested and still performing so well is an incredible feat.
Every time I think of Veno, I immediately think back to the Invitational, back to 2022, and how Veno and Queasy went up and they go up against, oh my gosh, I forgot their names. No, the Danish duo. Anyway. Cammy and Seti, thank you. And anyway, they go up against them, they drop in their drop spot. It was something that had never been seen before. And even though they didn't win, everyone said that they saved Fortnite. And that to me is something that I constantly think about Veno. How every time he makes a move, every time he makes a decision, it's not necessarily the win or getting more points that matters to him. It's the impact on the scene.
He's so good. That's so true, Kelly. I love that point. I'm actually getting word, guys. We have an interview lined up with one of the members. It is Bolts. Bolts, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Bolts, let's go, dude! Congratulations! it
Thank you.
feel?
It feels so good. You know, me and Acorn, we got 3rd place in Major 1, and then at LAN we got 5th place. The win was just at the grasp of our fingertips, and then this time we finally got it. I'm so excited. Like winning on Central to me, such a big deal, you know, because I've won West before, but it doesn't feel as good as this.
I mean, I can imagine that feels good, especially getting the victory royale on the second to last game. Walk me through those moments. What was going on through the comms? When did you guys know that you had the win?
We knew we had the win when Acorn looked up at height and saw there was no builds on it. He was like, just shock up. We shocked up. We only had like 200-300 wood. And then from there, you know, we just were shooting down on everyone, eliminating everyone. And then it came a little close in the end. I did have to 1v2, but they were both low, thankfully. So I'm glad we could close that win out.
Can't lie, Bolts. We have had the great pleasure of speaking to Acorn a plethora of times, but not many times we've actually gotten to speak to his teammates. So I got to ask you, Bolts, what does it actually feel like? Or, you know, what actually goes down playing with a player like Acorn? Like, what does it feel like? How does he teach you? How does he walk you through some of these moments as one of the best IGLs we have ever seen?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like I'm playing a whole different game compared to everyone else. Like, before I started playing with Acorn, I didn't really have that much knowledge on how to play an endgame properly or even mid-game rotates. But then just over playing with him, it honestly just taught me so much about the game. And it's really interesting to see how a player can play so consistent and just like very hidden to all the other players. Like many other players, they need to get elims to make it far in the game, but for us, with our game plan, with Acorn's yelling, the way he tarps, the way he shockwaves us, you know, we're just there. We don't need a refresh because he's just him.
Bro, I want to come back to you. Obviously, you're giving Acorn the flowers. We got to give you the flowers, Bolts. I mean, how does it feel to walk away with this win, with this title? For you as a player, where do you feel like you are at right now?
Right now, I would say a lot of people underestimate me, and I'm glad that winning now, I think I'll get more recognition about that. I think I saw a stat where I was 10 FNCSs now in a row. I've gotten top 10, which compared to other people, I think it was like only 3 people. And I think people really underestimate my ability to frag and just be there to support my teammate.
I mean, what's crazy about that stat, and that was all Vivid stats, but to think that you were able to do it also in a LAN setting, that is really what makes the difference, is that regardless of if you're at home or if you're on the big stage, you always perform. But Bolts, for me, speaking of performing, you guys have a big performance coming up for the Global Championships, and we already know that you guys were going to be going there. So what is kind of the training grounds looking like leading up to that?
I would say we're not really going to change much else when it comes to our training. Like for me, all I do, I Kovacs, you know, I aim train, I do a lot of creative. I've been playing, you know, just with a lot of pros and stuff. And for Acorn, you know, he's always in the VODs, he's always learning. So I would say there's not really much we have to change. We just have to keep up the grind and not get too complacent.
Yeah, incredible work, Bolts. I mean, listen, we also kind of want to know how the lobby was kind of breaking down. Was any teams out there that you feel like was kind of giving you some troubles throughout all 12 of these games that you want to give some flowers with, or do you feel like it was just all you guys?
No, I'll give some flowers to Rise and Muzz. Honestly, crazy performance out of them. I wasn't expecting that. It never really came in our playbook to really try to make a play on them to overtake them, because we were just really confident in our abilities to just make it far enough into the game and just get points that way. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of teams performing well, and I would say we just came out on top, and we're the best duo in NA Central.
Dude, you guys absolutely are. Congratulations, Bolts. I 100% agree with you. I feel like you are underrated, you are underestimated, and I don't understand why. And I hope that this win will finally clear the air for so many of these people that look on you with those feelings, because like they should absolutely be putting respect on your name. For the fans out there that maybe have never seen you before and they want to follow you, where can they follow you on social media?
So on YouTube, it'll be Bolts1x. On Twitter, it'll be Bolts1x also. And then on Twitch, it is BoltsFN.
I love that. Well, listen, Bolts, congratulations. Give a big congratulations to Acorn for us as well. We cannot wait to see more of you guys in the future. And again, just a massive congratulations to you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, man. Congratulations again. We just cannot, like, what more could we say about this phenomenal duo? To see them come out on top, to see this fight, the way...
Sorry. That's what he's doing right now.
I wasn't ready for the sleeping acorn. That's crazy. Or the sleeping bolts, rather. Man, just a phenomenal weekend of Fortnite action. Kelly, I feel like to see it go over to acorn and bolts, so well deserved. Just an awesome like cherry on top of major number 2.
100%. And I mean, there's obviously, you know, Bolt says that he feels like he's like overlooked and everything, but obviously after we ended trios after globals last year, Acorn saw something immediately in Bolt and he went to him. And Acorn has been playing with some huge names out there, and not to say that Bolt wasn't a huge name at the time, but for Acorn to kind of forego maybe some other bigger names and to pick up Bolt, clearly we know he's the smartest IGL in the world. Sorry, Queasy. And so for him to see something in Bolt, I don't think he did that flippantly. I think he did his studies, he did his reviewing, and obviously they have been an incredible duo all the way since they have formed. So I love to see the success, and honestly, this whole weekend was absolutely incredible. I don't know what NA is on. Zeke, once again, great script writing. I know this is all up to you, but just such an incredible, not even weekend, but just all the weeks that led up to this. So exciting, and again, just a great finish. Vivid, this is everything I could have asked for and more.
Yep, without a doubt, a huge congratulations to Acorn and Bolts. Of course, they're going to be walking away with Major 2 championship on their titles now. But for some of our other teams, we of course know they were looking towards those global qualification spots. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at who managed to secure those spots. Of course, we saw Ritual and Coldair with their second place finish. Agers and Veno are up there as well. They came third place. We see Higgs and Curver managed to go ahead and clutch up as well. Muzz and Rise, who obviously were given some flowers over there by Bolts himself. Josh and Iamso, and then Clicks and Rapid securing that last spot there as well. So it's great to see these 6 teams kind of joining the other 6 who will be representing NAC at Globals. I cannot wait.
Oh, man, it's just so much fun to get to do this. Fortnite fan, we hope that you guys have had just as much fun as we have had, because man, Fortnite does not disappoint. Now, obviously, a huge congratulations, like Vivid called out, to all these players that have qualified, but we still have one final opportunity for duos to try and qualify on through. It's the Global Championship last chance, okay? We will be back not that long from now for a final broadcast on that to qualify more players on through to the Global Championship. But man, oh man, it has been such an honor and a pleasure to get to hang out with y'all, watch some Fortnite, geek out, go crazy, be hype. Just incredible. Massive shout outs again to MDF and to Jacob from our production team, from our EU team, from everyone watching, doing watch parties and all this awesome stuff. It's just such an incredible time. We cannot thank you all enough. So until we see you next time, we love you, keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus.
Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.